Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, this is Rich Latta here. We are across the street from MSG.
NY, baby. New York City, Madison Square Garden. Hey, y'all boy, come on.
Man, Jeremy Donovan here from Keepin It Strong Style and Social Suplex. We're here with one half of the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions.
Hey, one half of Gorillas of Destiny, but one whole of Tama motherfucking Tonga, realest of the realest. Hey, ain't nobody realer than Gorilla.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, joined by the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be reviewing the G1 Supercard as well as covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns at socialsuplex.com. Go to socialsuplex.com/subscribe to sign up to get all the podcasts and columns delivered directly to your email inbox. This episode of Keeping It Strong Style is brought to you by Powerslam.tv. Powerslam.tv is an independent streaming service with over 4,000 hours of wrestling from companies across the world. Also, you can use the promo code SocialSuplex to get your first month free of Powerslam.tv. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex to get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt as well as other shirts from the Social Suplex Podcast Network. And all right, man, we are back here in Tampa from an incredible WrestleMania weekend in New York. It was a whirlwind of just tons of wrestling and just meeting people and all kind of goodness, man.
Yeah, WrestleMania had me messed up, man. Put me in the hospital, put me out of the business for good, trying to put me out of commission, put me on the shelf.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I've seen a lot of people that were in New York coming back being sick.
Yeah, I'm not sick. Someone definitely date drug raped me and then was trying to snatch me. That's what happened in New York. The young boy was getting freaking chased out here. Hot commodity. I had to kick out at 3. Came here to the States. Had a rehab, but I'm back. But nah, like in all seriousness, like I was in the ER yesterday. And that's kind of like why we didn't record up to now.
Well, I mean, it was kind of good that we waited because I'm still trying to regain my voice. It's better than it was yesterday and Monday. But yeah, yesterday my voice was like completely dead.
No, yeah, something weird was going on. Like literally, we were out. Well, I was out Saturday night, and then Sunday when we were. I don't know if you guys, if you're listening and you've already listened to the what was it?
The Suplex Mania podcast.
Yeah, the Suplex Mania podcast. If you ever hear me on there, like I'm pretty like out of it. Like I don't have a memory of the Suplex Mania podcast at all, to be honest with you. And I was feeling really weird that whole time, and I was like, I think someone put something in my drink the night before. But then like Monday came and I still felt that way, and then like I went to work Tuesday and I was still feeling that way, and So yeah, I went to the hospital because I was like, oh crap. I done messed up now. Like I was like, I'm trying to live, and life is like, that's not for you, baby. But no, they tested me for everything. They're like, you're extremely healthy, sir. Go home. And I was like, how much is it gonna cost me? They're like, everything. It's like, dude, we need to change our healthcare laws and reform crap here, because like, you shouldn't like be in a daze and have a headache and like have to spend like literally thousands and thousands of dollars. That's stupid. But anyways, that's why like being a pro wrestler is probably so hard. They got no health insurance. They get hurt one time and they're like
done,
screwed for the rest of the year. Like
yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know what was wrong with me. I still feel like in a daze right now. Even just like, this is the most I've talked in like 3 days. It feels like it's super weird. But we're here, man. We're doing it, and we're back from a very successful WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about our weekend in New York a little bit. I know if you've heard of Suplex Mania, we kind of talked about it too, but on this episode, we just want to give a quick recap of some of the New Japan stuff we saw outside of G1 Supercard, and as well as just all the people that we've ran into throughout the weekend. So you want to start talking about shows?
I think we should just go in order. So I mean, like, we got there, and starting, what was it, Thursday morning?
Yeah.
Thursday morning was the New Japan Festival, Matsuri at what was that place called?
Japan Village in Brooklyn.
Man, that place was awesome. I loved it. It was right up my alley.
Yeah, it was a really cool venue, a little cool place there. Had a bunch of restaurants and a lot of stores and shops within in that location there.
Yeah, we got to talk to a lot of fans. Just, it was really cool being in an environment like that with so many people that were like New Japan fans exclusively,
Right.
A lot of the other events we went to, tons of great wrestling fans, things like that, but it was a different feeling and a different vibe at that Matsuri event.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the Matsuri, while we were kind of sitting down waiting, they had some press there from TV Asahi, and they kind of asked us to come over because they were getting ready to film a segment with Jushin Thunder Liger. And so we were watching Liger.
That was wild.
We were watching Liger film this segment out there, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, Liger's going to come and interview one of you guys. And so Liger comes over, and he picks me to interview.
Bro, I had this strange feeling it was going to be me, and I was like, please don't be me. Please don't be me. Because I don't know what I would say to him. Like, I get, like, nervous under pressure and stuff, so I was just like, oh, God, I hope it's not me. And then he went to you, and I was like, sweat off my brow.
So yeah, it came to me, asked me what I was most looking forward to on G1 Supercard. So
Bro, he got pissed at you. You didn't put him over.
I didn't put him over at first, but I came back. I made a comeback at the end. Put him over.
You're like, you're gonna show Tay.
Yeah, you're gonna show Tay everybody. So at some point I've been on TV Asahi also.
I mean, I was right there with you. So
yeah.
like, we're like Japanese superstars now. Like,
yeah, and
you know what? You could totally be like an international journalist, as seen on TVI.
Yes. And they also took a picture of me, you, and Rich put in, I guess, a newspaper or article or something like that. So we are officially internationally known out here. We are as seen on, Asahi TV.
Certified.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was cool. They had a lot of really cool stuff, just like all the like different faction cutouts, like that you could take pictures by. They had all the different title belts. It was funny. We were standing by the title belts, and all these marks were like, "Is that the real belt?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's the real belt." People were like, "I don't know if it is." I'm like, have you ever seen a title belt in your life? Like, look at it. Like, that's clearly not a replica.
Yeah.
But that was cool. They had all the like cool New Japan merchandise. We saw a bunch of people that like knew who we were even there, like, and that listened to our show and stuff, which that was cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to stay for a long time, but I mean, you were there for quite a while.
Yeah. So they had the opening segment, Jushin Thunder Liger, a segment with him, and then after the Liger segment, they had a segment with Toru Yano. And they were talking about the Daiso store that's in New York. It's a store that's in Japan, And so this was like the first American store for Daiso opening up in New York.
What's Daiso?
So they have like a lot of like different like bath products and like home products and stuff like that. Almost like a Bed Bath and Beyond kind of. I'm
trying to get this Rainmaker body wash.
And so Yano was
Switchblade shampoo. You know what I'm saying?
Yano was comparing like the products, the Daiso like New York store to the Japan store and different products, and Yano was very good at putting over products, so he was putting over they had like this Daiso like face cube thing you scrub your face with, and all these other like Daiso products out there. And
so it wasn't like New Japan related though.
No.
One thing that did happen, I was chatting with somebody, and this dude, Liger walks into the lobby where I'm having a chat, and this dude that was standing right by us, he like runs over. He's like, "Can I get your photo? Can I get your photo?" And Liger's like, "Yeah." He takes a photo of Liger, and he comes back over and he asks us. He's like, "Who was that?"
Wow.
Because the dude wasn't a wrestling fan. He just saw him with like his mask on, and I was like, "That's Jushin Thunder Liger," and he's like, "Liger? Okay, I'll look him up." He's like, "I took a picture of him because I'm trying to impress this girl that likes WWE." I was like, "Bro, she's not gonna know who that is." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he took a photo with this kid that was cosplayed like Nakamura. And he was like, "Who was that guy?" And I was like, "I don't know who that was." He was like, "No, he was definitely somebody. He was all in leather. He had a white belt." And I was like, "Bro, he's cosplaying." And he's like, "What does that mean?" Like, he literally... And then, like, people, the people that were working there, they told him that he was Nakamura. They, like, really thought that this dude was, like, actually Nakamura.
Wow.
It was hilarious. But, yeah, we had a great time at the... I mean, just getting to meet Liger and talk to him, like, that was so freaking crazy.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like you mentioned, all the great merch out there, all the people that we were meeting out there. Ran into our good friend Esteban, who is president of the unofficial North American fan club. Was able to talk to him. Actually bought me a drink. Thank you, Esteban. And so, yeah, then after that...
So I headed out early. I went to Jersey City, which... I was actually worried that all those like collective shows that were in Jersey City were a bad idea. But once I realized what the transportation system was like in New York, and you could just take the path and get right there, I was like, oh, this is why they did this. And Jersey City was dope. Like, it was one of the coolest areas of New York, Jersey area. And I've lived in Jersey, but I've never been to Jersey City. The downtown is awesome. Like, it's one of the best places in Jersey I've ever been to. And so I went out there. I met Chris Things of Art fame, or Chris Bryan of Grown Men Watch This Shit, good friend of the show. And we went and saw Bloodsport, and me, him, and Cousin Ben. And we had a great time, man. And that show, I just got to tell you, like, it so far surpassed and exceeded my expectations of what the show was going to be. It was awesome. Also, like, I was standing like 2 feet away from Dean Ambrose, which that was weird. And then William Regal was there too, and I was like, "What are these dudes doing here?" And like, it was weird. They're just there, like no one's chatting with them.
Yeah, Regal doesn't surprise me because Regal always goes to indie shows to kind of scout talent.
I didn't feel like he was there scouting. I felt like they were there as fans, like just because of the type of show it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, yeah, we watched the show. Jeff Cobb was literally, like, right next to us. We, like, pretty much watched the entire show on the second floor, right there with Jeff Cobb, which was pretty crazy. And the Bloodsport show was just excellent. I mean, there were some misses, but, I mean, Davey Boy Smith and Killer Cross, Masashi Takeda, Jonathan Gresham, Chris Dickinson, Andy Williams, and then the Hideki Suzuki, Timothy Thatcher match, the Suzuki and Barnett main event. So that's like all those matches I just listed. That's about 5 matches that are near the 4-star or better range. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you, like, that's gotta be, in my opinion, outside of the big events that we were at this weekend, it's gotta be show of the weekend. I would really, really find it hard for anybody to show me a show that they saw. Well, you went to a pretty good show too. But, I mean, this show, not only was it great, but, all singles matches. So, that always adds something to it. And, I mean, just the presentation, the atmosphere, every match was totally different. I mean, if you haven't seen this show, I know some of you listeners might not be as familiar with some of these names or a fan of Shoot Style, but I'm telling you, you will not regret getting this show. It was like literally mind-blowingly good. I was so last year the show was cool and it was a gimmick, but it wasn't like the best show of the weekend or even close to it. But this show was, like, to me, maybe the best show of the weekend. It was that good. Just so good. And then, I got to meet Suzuki, not Hideki, but Minoru. I got to interact with him. And, it's just such a... Yeah, it was a totally different vibe there. I really liked that show a lot.
Yeah, and while you were at Bloodsport, Rich and I went over to the original Hooters across from Madison Square Garden.
Oh, that's right.
To meet Chris Owen and Andrea that worked there at Hooters, and to kind of get a scope of what the building even looked like, what the setup would be, kind of get a heads up on some of the technical gear and the setup and all that stuff. And, while we were there chatting, one half of the IWGP Tag Team Champions rolled in, Tama Tonga. He came in with Juicy Gino Gambino. And so Rich and I rolled over, went to talk to him. We told him about Social Suplex and Keeping It Strong Style. And he was super nice, very friendly. He loved the name Social Suplex. He thought it was cool that we had a New Japan podcast. He bought Rich and I some drinks.
I'm just going to tell you, I had a run-in with a member of the Bullet Club myself this weekend, and it went nothing like this.
But yeah, and then we, I was joking with him because since Gino Gambino was there, I was like, hey man, my co-host, we have this argument about whether Gino is a part of the Bullet Club or not. I'm telling him that he is because Fala gave him a shirt, and Tama was like, yeah man, bad luck Fala, he's a godfather of the Bullet Club. What he says goes. Of course Gino's a part of the Bullet Club. And we had him do a drop for us, which by now you would have heard what's going to be at the beginning of this show.
Oh, we're using that?
Yeah.
How are we even going to use that? It's like the craziest drop we've ever had.
Yeah.
Did you edit it?
I'm going to, yeah.
Oh, God. No, it's awesome, but I don't even know how it's going to... Yeah, it's crazy.
So that was a great experience. A free little meet and greet there with Tama.
Tam was like a ball of energy. He was everywhere WrestleMania weekend. And you couldn't go anywhere without seeing him. It's kind of weird. He's just all over the place.
Yeah, and we were telling him about Suplex Mania that we were hosting. That was happening after the Bullet Club block party. He thought we were running against him. He's like, why are you guys trying to run against me? He said maybe he might show up. He did end up showing up. He did not end up showing up to Suplex Mania.
I thought he was because I saw him outside. I saw him.
He did?
Yeah, I saw him and Hikuleo and some other a girl. I don't know who she was. They were all just walking around. I thought they were gonna come up, but they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't come up.
I mean, there were a bunch of wrestlers at Suplex Mania. We'll get to that in a second, but. So that was a great experience meeting Tama and all that. And so after we left the original Hooters, we headed over to the WrestleCon Super Show where we met.
Luckily, my show got out after just 2 hours, so it was perfect timing, just enough time to jump on a subway, get over. I made it literally at
right on time. Yeah, so we met up with you, James Boyd, Floyd from All Things Elite to watch the WrestleCon Super Show. Mm-hmm. Very fun show. As far as New Japan talent, we saw Robbie Eagles get a win in a triple threat match, defeating Ares and Flamita. And I gotta say, that was probably the best Robbie Eagles match I've seen so far.
That was funny that you said that.
Then Jushin Thunder Liger coming out to a huge pop. He was teaming with X-Pac and Hurricane Helms. And they took on the team known as the Revolt of Caleb Conley, Zane Riley, and Jake Manning. All three of the legends super over here. And
yeah, I think Liger got the biggest pop of the entire night, this was a really fun match.
Yeah, and so Liger, X-Pac, and Hurricane end up getting the win. Liger hits a brainbuster for the win. Crowd's going crazy for Liger. X-Pac thanks the crowd. He said he's so honored to, be in the ring with Liger during his retirement tour. Hurricane Helms was like, you guys know who I work for. I pretty much had to beg to come be on this show because I wanted to be in the ring with Jushin Thunder Liger on his tour.
I think he was talking about from WWE.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to beg WWE to be on this show. Then we saw Dragon Lee taking on Barbario Cavernario, which was just a wild matchup.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, 2 years in a row, it's happened to me. Last year it was Tanahashi. This year was Cavernario. Cavernario definitely pointed at me again. He definitely, and I have James Boyd sitting right next to me giving me affirmation that he definitely did. This happened. But this time I think it was because nobody knew who Cavernario was. Like, when he came out, like, it was like little.
Us.
It was just us, yeah. It was like little to no pop. But like, I was freaking marking out so hard. So yeah, I definitely got his attention. That was cool. And this match was awesome.
Yeah, this match ruled. I mean, all the high flying. Cavernario hits all his signature spots. The splash to the floor. He had this cool spot where he dived through. He ran through the apron and dived to the other side of the ropes.
That was great.
Yeah, I definitely expect Cavernario to get some more U.S. bookings based off this one match.
Yeah, and I mean, this wasn't even the best Dragon League Cavernario match I've ever seen. It was really good, though. I mean, I would still go close to like 4.25 on it.
Yeah.
It's really good. And then Shane Strickland and Zack Sabre was in the it was the next match, which that was a really like divisive match. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I thought it was about 4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really strong technical match. It was definitely a Zack Sabre match.
But Strickland can be really technical, and people kind of forget that.
I know. I remember I mentioned to you, I'm like, I'm not going to be surprised if like Strickland does more mat-based stuff in this match than high flying or heavy striking. So this was like a technical match, a lot of grappling, and Sabre was able to tie Strickland up towards the end and tap him out.
I wouldn't say go out of your way, like this is must see, you gotta see it, but if you're like, well, what was good on the show, what would you recommend? I'd definitely recommend this match. I thought it was great. Plus, it's gonna be one of like Shane Strickland's last singles matches on the indies, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Then the main event of the evening, Will Ospreay versus Bandito, and this match was just outstanding.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Dude, literally as the bell rang, Ospreay hits a Spanish fly, does a shooting star press.
Yeah, the opening was extremely hot. Like, it was crazy hot, the opening was.
Yeah, these guys were just, going out here. We had a lot of great near falls. Ospreay hitting a Rainmaker at one point during the match, hitting an Oz Cutter. But eventually it came down to him hitting the Stormbreaker on Bandito to get the win.
Yeah, and this show, it went late, and it started late, and they had an intermission, which was kind of crazy. But I had a lot of fun. I mean, we got to see a lot of our friends. Floyd, like you mentioned, who is a great friend of the show. We hadn't seen him since All In, so that was awesome. We got to finally meet Chris Charlton in person.
Yep.
We hung out with the guys from J-Cast. I met Eric from Real Heroes Archive, which I didn't.
Yeah, I met him also.
Yeah, great guy. We talked for a while.
Super nice. Joe Lanza.
All the guys from Voices of Wrestling. So, I mean, it was a really, really fun show. I wouldn't say, like, it was a great show. There was a lot of shtick and a lot of comedy, but that's kind of what you're getting when you go to WrestleCon Super Show. Last year's show, in my opinion, was better than this one for sure.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I thought this was still a solid show. I mean, nothing to complain about. And the matches that I thought would deliver all did deliver. Nothing like that blew me away, like nothing close to match of the year. But still just really, really, really solid show, like top to bottom.
Yep, so then...
and Masato Tanaka, who is a former Never champion... defeated Eddie Kingston in the opening match of the night, which that was pretty good too.
Yeah, that was a solid opening match. WrestleCon Super Show, very fun show. I mean, if you want to check it out, I mean, I would definitely. I think it's going to be on Fight TV. I think it's worth a watch.
And then, so Friday morning, what did you do? You went to Shimmer.
Yeah, so I went to Shimmer,
and I went to WrestleCon Super Show. Which was pretty...
You mean Rev Pro?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm still out of it. Yeah, I went to Rev Pro, and... No. Rev Pro was not the first... No. I went to US vs. the World.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy amount of shows. US vs. the World, real solid show, and then hung out with Chris. Got to meet John. What's John's last name?
Kraft.
Yeah, John Kraft, who is their their correspondent who goes to Mexico, does all the crash shows with them, and John's a great guy. Got to hang out with him for a while, and we enjoyed that show. And then we wound up at Rev Pro live in New York midday, which that was just a freaking really, really, really awesome show. I was really glad that I went to it. You know, I was kind of like torn. I was thinking maybe I wanted to go to Stardom. But the first match of the night was CCK, Clark Connors, and Chris Brooks and Jonathan Gresham against Clark Connors and Carl Fredericks. Connors and Fredericks are the young lions who are based out of here in the U.S. And this is the first time that I'd gotten to really see them in person, and they really had a great match. Like, it was one of the best matches of the night. And, you know, we always say, like, young lions, like, go out there and, like, have great matches, but this was a little less on the young lion formula, and it was kind of like, you know how there's always that next, they're having a good match, but they don't let them get to that next level.
Yeah.
They kind of gave these guys a little bit more leeway, let them get to that next level, and kind of show a little bit more. And yeah, it went about 15 minutes. I would say it was close to 4 stars, and I mean, it really like blew people away how good this was. Then after that, the rest of the show was really good, but in the middle of the show, we got Will Ospreay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Suzuki Gun battling it out, which we all kind of thought it was going to be the main event. It ended up being the mid-card main event, so, you know, there you go. But when they came out, I will say this, there was a lot of really good, indie-level cards WrestleMania weekend. A lot of dream matches, but a lot of those matches were like just guys people wanted to see, or, you know, just exciting. They wanted to see them go against each other. It didn't really matter who won or who lost. There wasn't really any stakes involved. This felt entirely different. This is the first time during the weekend where I was watching a match where I was like, oh my God, everyone here's a big star, and what is about to happen really matters, because with, you know, Ospreay, well, kind of more like with Tanahashi and Zack Sabre's match coming up in the at Madison Square Garden later the next night, and then Ospreay's kind of history with Suzuki and Zack Sabre, you know, with them all being involved with one another in Rev Pro. This really had like a big fight feeling to it, and I'll tell you what, they kicked the crap out of Will Ospreay. I mean,
Suzuki broke Ospreay's nose in the beginning of the match.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 minutes in, his nose was like really bleeding pretty bad, and they kept going for it. Zach is so good. He kept integrating it into his like arsenal. Like he just kept attacking the nose. So they really like incorporate it into the storyline there. And yeah, it was funny. Tanahashi, the new gear that he wore to MSG, he actually wore it here. And I was like, is Tanahashi like stunting out here, like at Rev Pro in the middle, like at 4:00 in the afternoon? Like, he definitely was. But this was definitely the match of the night. It was one of the best matches of the weekend. I don't know. I was pretty high in it. Like, I was almost like 4.25, 4.5. I actually saw Damon from J-Cast, like during intermission, and I was like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm leaving." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Nothing's gonna beat that." He's like, "There's no reason to stay," and he wasn't wrong. When we came back from intermission, I saw Rocky Romero and Ryusuke Taguchi, which actually was pretty solid match, believe it or not. Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. And then David Starr and Tomohiro Ishii was the semi-main event. I'll tell you what, I actually was expecting a better match here. I've seen people be pretty high in this match, and I don't want to be too contrarian, but I didn't think it was as good as it should have been. I thought that David Starr, I actually saw him in like 2 or 3 matches this weekend. I thought this was the worst one that I saw him in. Not to say it was a bad match, but like I was expecting so much more from these two guys too, with them being like 2 of my like more well-liked wrestlers, especially me loving Ishii. But yeah, they had a really, really good match. David Starr lost basically to Ishii, which, you know, is a really, really good match though. And then the main event was Aussie Open against Roppongi 3K, which I guess is a rematch that they had from television last year. Match was really good. They went a little over 20 minutes. It was close to 4 stars. So again, I'm telling you a lot of stuff that's close to 4 stars in this show. So I mean, this was also one of the shows. I was glad that I went to it because every year, Rev Pro always delivers. Like, I haven't been to a bad Rev Pro show in America ever. And sometimes, like, even this one kind of looked like, I don't know if it's going to be good. They freaking deliver every year. But Aussie Open ended up getting the win, and then at the end of the show, they were attacked by Suzuki-gun, who basically said that they were the next challengers, to their titles, and that they didn't stand a chance. They also Zach cut a promo talking about how Suzuki-gun is going to be taking over Rev Pro, and that they've got their sights set on the junior title, or the cruiserweight title, with Desperado coming over soon to challenge for that belt as well. Yeah, Desperado.
Yeah.
So, all in all, this was a really, really good show. I would say that this was like the second best indie show that I saw this weekend as well. So, great stuff.
Yeah, so when you were at USA vs. World, I was at Shimmer. Obviously, no New Japan talent on there, but it was a very good card. It was better than last year's Shimmer card. I really enjoyed it. And then when you were at Rev Pro, I was at Stardom, and man, I freaking loved that show. I'm still trying to learn all the talent's name, so I'm not going to really give you a rundown of all the stuff. But I mean, all the matches are great. I bought one of the programs so I can remember these matches and who was in these matches and the stars. But yeah, it was a really great show. I see why everybody loves Joshi Wrestling, loves Stardom. I see why James Boyd is such a big Stardom fan, and so that was great to kind of experience that with him, because James has been following Stardom for a while now. He knows the feuds, he knows the wrestlers, and just kind of seeing his reactions to the stuff was cool.
You came back from that show sounding like you were converted.
Yeah, I'm thinking, man, like, I mean, I really don't need another wrestling subscription service, but
I mean, you could cut that Honor Club probably.
Yeah.
Also, you got the WWE Network. We kind of don't need that either.
Yeah.
Cut that.
But yeah, man, Stardom is great. So
our bills are way too high. You need to cut it. Cut it. That's what you need to do, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure I guess that show will air on their streaming service. So I mean, if you have that service, I would definitely watch it. I mean, so James, he's been watching a lot of the stuff, and he said that this was the best Stardom show that he's seen. Better than any of their like big Cork and Hall shows. So,
yeah, but he said some of that same stuff about NXT, so I don't 100% trust that man's opinion.
Yeah, speaking of NXT, that was the next show that we all went to after Rev Pro and Stardom. We headed over to the Barclays Center to watch NXT TakeOver, a show full of 4-star plus matches. Yeah, man, great stuff.
Yeah, the NXT show. Honestly, it was the show of the weekend.
Yeah,
I mean, it was blow away. Like it was just a great experience.
Yeah, from top to bottom. Yeah.
And I mean, we got to see a lot of. I mean, War Raiders was on that show. Ricochet was on that show. Matt Riddle, Adam Cole,
Gargano.
Tons of guys that I was kind of listing guys specifically.
Oh,
that,
from New Japan.
Yeah, that have roots or ties to New Japan, and so. It's no coincidence that these guys all kind of got picked up out of the East.
Yeah. And so after that, then Saturday, we attempted to go to Pancakes and Piledrivers.
Oh man, what a fiasco! Yeah, so we went to Pancakes and Piledrivers, and let's be clear here. That show never looked good. But part of the appeal was we were like, well, you're getting free pancakes. Now, I know that you could literally just go to IHOP and buy pancakes and skip the show if that's what you really wanted to do. But every year, I don't go to this show. People are like, you have to go. It's unlimited pancakes. It's it's like the funnest atmosphere. I know it sounds silly, but to be told, if you told me, hey, it's WrestleMania weekend, do you want to pay $50 for this show? I would have been like, no. Honestly, no. The show actually looked kind of crappy. But then to be like, well, it's early in the morning and you're going to get free pancakes and you're going to get to go to WrestleCon, That's like literally the gimmick. The gimmick is you get pancakes. Well, then we show up and we're waiting, and like literally all of our friends that we know are like running around the arena like looking for the pancakes. Like, where is the pancakes? So then they come out, they cut a promo about how like they're not able to have pancakes. Now, I literally think that this is a work.
Yeah, they had Jimmy Jacobs come out. He was like the acting, I guess, general manager or announcer or whatever for the night. And so, yeah, he comes out, makes the announcement, said that the hotel's not going to allow them to bring pancakes in this arena. If one pancake's come in this ring, that they're going to
shut the show down. So then they brought in dudes. Who was those?
They brought in the Rascals, Desmond Xavier, Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, all dressed up as pancakes.
Yeah, they had them dancing in pancake outfits. That was like their make good. That was literally like their make good.
Yeah, like these are your pancakes for the show.
Yeah, and then they proceeded to have the show, which the show sucked. And it's not just our opinion. Like, I didn't stay for the show, but people that stayed for the show were like, yeah, this show actually, for the most part, was trash.
Yeah.
So, I'm, like, kind of blown away that they did this. They didn't, like, tweet anybody, give anybody a heads up or whatever. Now, I know it could sound like this is sour grapes, but it's like, literally, I would never have paid for that show. On its own, just as it was, the show was not a good show. But I was like, well, you know, I'm gonna go for the Pancakes and Piledrivers experience.
Right.
So we don't get that, and I'm like, they're really not gonna do this. Well, then it's early in the morning. Like, I'm hungry. Let's get out of here. I don't want to pay for this. So I go talk to people that were in charge of the show, and I was like, hey, look, you know, here's the deal. So at first, like, oh yeah, sorry, we're not able to. We can't do anything about it. I was like, that's fine. I just want I want a refund. I don't want to stay for the show. And then they're like looking at each other like that in disbelief that I'm asking for this. So then the dude gets mad, and he was like, yeah, well, we never promised you pancakes, so I can guarantee you that Sammy... And then I was like, Sammy? And then, like, apparently it's Sammy Callahan's promotion, which if I'd known that, I definitely would never have ever, like, bought a ticket. I guess it's Pro Wrestling Revolver, so, like, whatever. So then I was like, well, listen, man, like, you guys did promise pancakes because that's the gimmick of your show. And you wouldn't have cut a promo explaining that you didn't have pancakes if that wasn't what was promised in the first place. You wouldn't have to be cutting a disclaimer.
Right.
He was like, well, we had a penis party last night, and we didn't have any real penises. Did you want a refund for that? And then I was like, dude, I would never go to, like, the penis party, ever. He was like, well, you should have. It was a great time. I was like, yeah, I was at NXT. I was at, a good show. And he's like, well, you're gonna have to email Sammy and tell him that you blah blah blah. So I was like, all right. So then, like, I leave, we just get out of there. So I email Sammy Callahan, I email WrestleCon, I tell them what the deal is, and I'm very cordial about it. Then they email me back. They're like, well, if you want to if you want to come up to us right now, we'll put you in front of Sammy Callahan. You can tell him to his face that you paid for pancakes and not his wrestling show. So then, like, I responded to them, like, a pretty lengthy response that was like, I basically told them, I was like, hey, look, I would have done that, but when I asked to speak with whoever was in charge, they told me no and to cut an email. So, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I was like, the way you guys are responding is completely unprofessional. Like, you know, you kind of don't, I know that the wrestling business is a carny business, but you don't expect, like, people who have, like, these official emails to, like, literally just be like, well, we got your money, kid.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's really what they just did. We got your money, kid. So, yeah, that was, like, such a bad experience. So, if you're listening, do yourself a favor. I'm just telling you, do yourself a favor. Don't do anything that's Sammy Callahan involved. If you enjoy him as a wrestler, great. I enjoy him as a wrestler. But, like,
business related,
probably don't do that because it's probably a bad idea, honestly. Yeah. And if you're listening, you're a fan of his, I'm sorry to tell you, but that's our experience with him, and it's not an isolated incident. Like, this is not like just us. This is the first time people have had bad experiences with Sammy Callahan. I mean, I think we literally we saw him, like, almost get AEW kicked out of, like, their biggest venue, like,
during All In Weekend,
for bull crap.
Yeah.
And there's tons of stories like this, so this is nothing new.
Yeah. Well, things picked up from there.
Thank God.
We went to the Penny's Beer Garden, which is attached to Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah.
For the Esteban, like I mentioned earlier, president of the unofficial North American New Japan fan club, held a meetup with tons of giveaways, and we met a ton of New Japan fans there, a ton of people that listen to our podcasts. We were able
saw a lot of wrestlers. We saw Roosh, Dragon Lee.
Yeah, we saw Harold May came by.
Yeah, Harold May came by.
Yeah, and he gave us these stickers that say that we were New Japan supporters.
We saw Kadani at the Matsuri.
Yeah,
that
we did.
Was crazy.
Yeah. And we were able to meet Amy Euler, who was on the show last week, and her husband, Andy Nimity.
Yeah, they were really cool. Mm-hmm. They were really cool. We met a lot of people. Fan of the show, Jasmine, she gave me a Minoru Suzuki poster that she had drawn for his 30th anniversary, like for free. That was like really, really cool.
Yeah, she gave me an Okada one, and she also gave some other smaller like Suzuki ones. Yeah, we met an awesome couple, Adam and Alex.
Yeah, that they were really cool. Like a lot of people recognized me more from like my voice, because I don't think there's a lot of pictures of us out there.
Right.
But like somehow he knew who I was from afar. Like he ran up, but he didn't. And he's like, "Are you the young boy?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." But that was just such a crazy. That happened all weekend, and that was such a weird experience. Like running into people who are avid listeners and followers of our show, and I never like. I mean, I know we have numbers and stuff, but like. Never having met anyone that ever told me this to my face.
Right, it's different when you can put faces and names to all these people who actually download this thing and listen to us. And
it's so
like
crazy.
You mentioned all weekend. I mean, I was at the Shimmer show, and like some dude was walking by me. He goes, "Wait, are you Jeremy from Social Suplex?" I was like, "Yeah," and it ended up
was that?
Ended up being Joel. He's one of our Reddit guys on Reddit that listen to the show and always comments and download.
Did I meet him at the meetup or anything, or no?
No.
Because I know you also met the guy that does NJPW extension.
Yeah, Danny. We met him after the G1 Supercard.
Yeah, I was jealous. I was like, dang, I would have loved to meet that guy.
So all weekend we were just running into a bunch of listeners of our show. Shout out to Megan, Jennifer, and Rachel. These are girls that you were running into all weekend. And
they were so cool. When I was going up the escalator rushing into the Super Show, I saw that, I think it was Megan, I think she had on a Liger shirt, and I was like, oh, I met Liger today. And then she's like, wait, do you have a podcast? And I was like, that was the first time this has ever happened, like, the whole weekend. And then I was like, yeah, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're keeping it strong style. and they also had other friends with them at that point too, and they were listeners of our show as well. And I don't remember all their names, but that was like so freaking crazy.
Yeah. Also at the meetup, we met Eric, Reddit user God Duckman, William, Reddit user, I think his Reddit user name is Mr. Wombat. I saw him all weekend. Saw him at Matsuri, saw him at Shimmer, Stardom. He was at G1 Supercard. He was really nice.
There's like a lot of new people too that like had heard of our show and knew who we were but never listened, that were like, I'm gonna listen now. Like we got a lot of new downloads, a lot of new follows, like really like awesome, just interacting with so many fans that are passionate about New Japan.
Yeah, then of course we had the G1 Supercard show, which we're gonna get ready to review in a minute.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about Suplex Mania first, or you want to go into the G1 Supercard review?
Yeah, let's talk about Suplex Mania. So we had Suplex Mania, which was supposed to start at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And we tried our best to like get there early, but dude, these subway systems had us freaking jobbing out. I was so pissed. We ended up getting there after 5.
Like 5:10.
Oh, it sucked. That was the worst. And so here we are trying to do this new thing in a city we've never been to with equipment we've never done it with. We don't know what to expect, and we literally left. We should have been there early with the amount of time we left, but these gimmicks weren't working out for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up late, which sucked, but we got there, and the guys from Grown Men Watch This Shit, Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan were there. And then, somehow James Boyd, who left after us, beat us there.
Yeah, he took a different way.
That sucked. So we had a roundtable live podcast with the whole entire crew. And as that was going on, people just started coming in, all over. And it was weird because it was a watch party. We handed out flyers. We told lots of people about it. I don't even know. A lot of the people that were there probably didn't even necessarily know that we were hosting the event. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They just knew.
Come to Hooters. Yeah, because word started getting out. But like, yeah, freaking Will Ospreay was there. Yeah, so got to give a shout out to one of our listeners. So Will Ospreay tweeted out that he was looking for a spot to watch WrestleMania. One of our listeners tweeted out, hey, you got to go to Hooters. And he was like, they're hosting it? And he's like, yeah. He sent him the flyer, the Suplex Mania flyer, told him to go out there. And so, yeah, Will Ospreay and Bea Priestley came, and they brought a bunch of wrestlers.
Dude, they brought so many workers. I didn't even know who any, like, I know Jimmy Havoc was there.
Yeah, Jimmy Havoc, Aussie Open was there.
Yeah, and they're actually good friends with Chris Bryan because they all used to wrestle back in the day in Australia. So yeah, they're good friends. I think he kind of told him about that too. But
also Eddie Kingston.
Yeah, Kingston came out.
Penelope Ford.
Saeed El-Sabah from Florida showed up because he ran into us. He was just made a brief appearance.
Yeah.
There was like literally though. I mean, what would you say? Like, is 20 like a pretty accurate? Maybe more, like 30.
I think like at least 30.
There was like at least 30 wrestlers there, and I didn't know who half of them were. There was that one, the blonde chick from over in the UK that everyone loves.
Oh, yeah, Session Moth Martina.
Yeah, and I didn't even know who she was, but apparently, like, our boys Ricky and Clive love her.
Yeah.
She was, like, just chilling. She was there.
We had the Crown Jewel, Chase Owens was there.
Yeah, so then the Bullet Club guys started making their
way.
Yeah,
we were able to talk to Chase for a little bit.
Chase was really cool. He was real gracious, and he said he'd be coming on the show, which is great.
Yeah, he said after May, which is after the Dontaku tour is over, we're working on getting Chase on here. We saw Switchblade Jay White was at the party.
Yeah, I talked to Jay. He was just like real kind of like standoffish. Mm-hmm. He wasn't mean or anything or rude or whatever, and I probably, he probably gets it all the time, so I get it. But yeah, I mean, it was not like. It was kind of weird. Like, I think he tries to make people uncomfortable. Like, what I mean? Like, you could easily do that if someone's just talking to you. You're just like, all right, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like that. But it was nice, And then what was funny was, like, we ended up, like, going to the bathroom at the same time. And so I was just like, I'm peeing next to Jay White. And I was like, now I'm washing my hands next to him. So weird. But, yeah, I mean, like, they were just there. And then I was outside, and I ran into Rocky. And Rocky remembered me, which was kind of crazy. He's like, hey, man. And, like, he didn't know the party was going on. I was just like, I was like, are you coming for the party? And he's like, no, I didn't know. And I was like, well, Jay and Chase are up there. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll probably stop in for a minute. He stayed the whole night.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, bro, we still got to get you on the show. And he's like, definitely, like, I'm busy, but you have to hit me up, like I said last year. And I was like, all right, cool. But he was really, really cool. He was like, good to see me again. And we had a ton of, like, listeners and people. I mean, like you said, Esteban was out there.
Yeah, Maserati. Yeah.
Yeah, bro, Maserati was there. That's something that, like, blows my mind.
Yeah, one of our most faithful, followers and listeners, always throwing in questions and commenting every week.
I kind of, like, don't remember the party very much. Like, I was so, like, freaking out of it. I'm, like, out of it doing this podcast right now. Like, still, like, kind of hazy, but... Yeah, it was a great time. I didn't even really watch WrestleMania, to be honest. I kind of did, but, like, not enough to, like, have a strong opinion on it. Or
right, whatever. Yeah. I was kind of in and out. I mean, the Kofi match and the Becky match were, like, the two matches that I pay attention to the most. Otherwise, I mean, I was just chatting up. I was hanging out with the Georgia girls, Rachel, Megan, and Jennifer. And... yeah, I was just chilling with them, getting to know them.
They were cool. It was really nice that they came out. Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of people that were just like they didn't know about Social Suplex, that they were just there. Just a ton of people. Like, it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we handed out, about 200 flyers that weekend. I mean, we had tons of posts on social media. Original Hooters retweeted it. Voices of Wrestling retweeted it. A bunch of people kind of reached out. Like I mentioned, we had listeners reaching out to Ospreay. So through word of mouth, there was a lot of people there.
There were people I was telling about it that were like, I've heard of this, or I saw it already online, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. And, for our first event, it might not have been exactly what I expected it to be, but I think it gives us a good working idea of what we would like, the event to be in the future or going forward. But I think it was really successful. We had a great time, great food.
Yeah, and once again, shout out to Chris Owen, one of the managers there at Hooters. He was our main.
Chris was awesome.
Yeah, super accommodating. He was very happy with the turnout. He's a big mark himself. I mean, when Rich and I were there Thursday, we talked to him all about wrestling. He's a huge wrestling fan, and he was pretty pumped that guys like Ospreay and Eddie Kingston and Jimmy Havoc and Jay White and all these guys were at his restaurant, watching WrestleMania. And he was rocking a Becky Lynch the Man shirt the whole night. So yeah, I mean, everybody at Hooters were super nice to us, very accommodating. It was a great experience. So if you're ever in the New York area and you're by Madison Square Garden, check out the original Hooters right there on 33rd Street. Tell Chris that Social Suplex sent you, and have a good time.
Yeah, definitely do that so he can CTC. Cut that check to us, baby.
All right, so now it's time, what you guys have all been waiting for, our G1 Supercard review. We were there live. Also, shout out to our boy Tom from the Social Suplex team.
Yeah, it was so cool getting to hang out with Tom. Tom's he hasn't really done too many podcasts with us, although I believe he was on one of the NXT shows recently.
Yeah, he's on a few kind of guest spot on podcasts. He does a lot of written NXT reviews for the Social Suplex site. So yeah, it was really cool to finally meet Tom in person, watch TakeOver with him, as well as the G1 Supercard of Honor, which started off, there was a dark match featuring Stardom women, and I don't have with me, I know that Getsu was in the match, but I couldn't find, nowhere has it down, who was officially in that match.
It's not on Wikipedia? I've got it right here. Yeah. Oh my god, Wikipedia always comes through so clutch. Kagetsu, Jenny Rose, and Hazuki defeated Hana Kimura, Stella Gray, and Sumi Sakai.
Yeah, so that was the opening match. It was a dark match, so not only the people in the arena saw it, and it was a pretty good match, but I mean, a lot of people were getting merch and food and drinks during this time, and
I'll tell you what, I'd gone pretty hard at the New Japan fan meetup that we did. So, a lot of this show was a blur. Luckily, I did rewatch the show so I could reform my opinions. And also, I don't know, I've always had this problem. I'm not a great judge of things. I'm not a great judge of how good matches are live. I kind of need to see it in its television medium to get a better feel and idea of or perception of things. So yeah, I don't remember this women's tag match. I remember it happening, but I don't remember if it was really good or anything like that. Yeah. I mean, we were sitting there, we watched it. I don't know if you remember.
I mean, honestly, I was kind of half paying attention to half not, just kind of sucking in the atmosphere and getting hyped for the show. I mean, from what I saw, it looked good. I mean, I saw some of these girls on the Stardom card the night before. So I mean, I wish there was a way to rewatch this match, but from what the parts I saw, it was good. So
we started off the second match of the pre-show. We got the Honor Rumble.
Yeah, and so this match was televised. So yeah, the first, official, it was the pre-show, but the first televised match, 30-man Honor Rumble, and this thing was done Royal Rumble style, starting off with 2 competitors, and then every so often another competitor would come in until we filled the ring up and got all 30 guys in there. As we mentioned before, the winner of the match was getting a Ring of Honor title match.
I'm looking at it now. They've done a bunch of Honor Rumbles that I did not even know ever happened before.
Yeah, they've done the Honor Rumble thing before.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So this one started off, Kenny King, who requested to be number 1, came out, and then all the other participants, were randomly selected. And number 2 ended up being Minoru Suzuki. And that was just awesome to be able to sing Kaze ni no Rei in Madison Square Garden and just watch Suzuki slap around Kenny King. So then at number 3, we had Cheeseburger. Number 4 was Beer City Bruiser. Number 5 was Sho. Number 6 was Shingo. 7 was Bushi. 8 was Yo. 9, we had Shaheem Ali. Number 10, Rhett Titus. Number 11, LSG. 12, Taguchi. 13, Will Ferrara. 14, Chase Owens. 15, Rocky Romero. 16, Brian Malonis. 17, Bad Luck Fale. Number 18, Jonathan Gresham. 19, Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. 20, Red Yoshihashi. 21, PJ Black. 22 was Liger. 23 was TK O'Ryan. 24 was Vinny Marcellia. 25 was Delirious. 26 was Team Tomohiro Ishii.
I'm feeling delirious just hearing you list these names.
27 it was Yano. 28 was Goto. 29 was King Haku. And number 30 was Great Muta.
So a couple thoughts on this. Initially, it was, like you mentioned, it was really cool that we got to sing Kaze Ninare. What's wrong with me? Why can't I talk? Kaze Ninare. Is that?
Kaze Ninare?
Yeah, what am I saying? Anyways, being able to sing that in Madison Square Garden because the fans at home were unable to hear the audio for that. They apparently did not have the rights to it, and they played some weird music. I don't know if you saw it on the recast.
I did. It was really weird.
Yes, I think people were like tweeting and kind of upset about that. I thought that they tried pretty hard to have a compelling story with this, with this Honor Rumble. I don't think it was like laid out terribly, but I mean there was just this clear juxtaposition between the New Japan talents that were coming out that people were just marking so hard for, and then like a Rex Titus would come out. Is that his name?
Rhett Titus.
Okay, see, that's the problem. I don't even know their names, like, or who's somebody else, like
LSG.
Like LSG, who is that, bro? You know what I'm saying? So that was like, and it would be like deadly. It wouldn't be like booze or anything. It would just be deathly silent. Like hardly anybody seemed to be aware of who some of these lower level Ring of Honor talents were. And you know what? I get it. It needed to be a 50-50 show, and so, congratulations on those guys that got to compete in Madison Square Garden. So I'm not complaining I'm not saying that they made a mistake having those guys featured, but it gives you a clear indication of where,
I mean, this,
the popularity of these guys are in the spectrum.
Yeah, it ended up just being kind of the theme for the night, honestly. Yeah. Just the juxtaposition between New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor.
There was this, at one point, though, when they had Bushi in there, and then Rocky Romero showed up, and then Rocky started doing his forever clotheslines, and then Taguchi started directing the entire ring to do clotheslines on Bushi. Oh my god, I popped so. That's like maybe one of the things I popped for hardest in the entire match. Like literally the entire ring
just destroyed Bushi, and then Rocky eliminated.
Rocky just tossed him over, which was great.
And they've been building that whole thing that Rocky hates Bushi, and so.
Yeah, Fale was in there just like kind of running roughshod of people. It was funny. They told the whole story of Kenny King being the first guy in the match trying to earn his way, and then he kind of just disappeared midway through the match.
Yeah, honestly, so much was going on. I thought he had just got eliminated.
I thought he got eliminated too. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
But then towards the end we got Liger and we got King Haku and we got Muta, and those were the big surprises. I don't know what world champion they were trying to tease that defended a belt in Madison Square Garden. I don't know who that was supposed to be. Can you think of anybody?
No, did Haku or
Haku has definitely competed in Madison Square Garden, unless they're just using some word trickery,
right. So he is a former world champion.
Maybe the world championship that he defended was the WWF World Tag Team titles.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Remember when WCW used to do crap like that? A former world champion is seen backstage, and then you'd call the hotline, and it's Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah. So it came down to what we thought was just.
The Kingdom came out.
Oh yeah,
towards the end.
Yeah, so it was the Kingdom, Muta, and Liger. As what we thought was the final four, and then Muta and Liger eliminated them, and we think we're down to Muta and Liger.
Which that was great. That was such a cool thing, seeing Muta even show up in the first place, which he was one of the guys we kind of speculated
that got a huge pop, huge eruption.
Yeah, huge.
And so Liger hits a shote, Muta hits a dragon screw and a flashing elbow, but then Kenny King, who was not eliminated. I guess he went under the bottom rope at some point during the match, came back in, and eliminated both Liger and Muta to get the win.
Yeah, and he just like barely tossed them. Like, it was so quick. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it was definitely like a huge heat spot. Which, I don't know. I mean, what were your thoughts here? Obviously, the crowd was just so dejected.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of disappointing. The one thing that annoys me is, like, Kenny King already has an owed Ring of Honor World title shot.
Yeah.
So he didn't need to win this to get another title shot.
You know, last week when we were doing the build up for this, I was saying there's nobody on the roster with Ring of Honor that I felt could win this and deserve a title shot. Then when Kenny King came out, I was like, oh crap, Kenny King's in this. But I didn't think he would be in it because, like you said, he is owed a title shot.
Yeah, I mean,
he's the only guy from their entire roster that was in there that's like I could reasonably see him getting a future title shot.
Yeah, and I thought it would have made way more sense for Liger to win. This is his retirement tour. Give him a Ring of Honor World title match on the retirement tour. He's somebody the champion could beat.
We did a beautiful job laying out all the reasons he should have won on the show last week, and they still hold up true. I don't think that this was a great decision. Now, I understand like getting heat, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you know the wrestling business is like kind of different nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I don't know, like this decision to have Kenny like just kind of run in and toss these guys out. Okay, great. Now there's heat on Kenny. We're gonna get to this later, but like, spoiler alert. The Ring of Honor World Champion is not an honorable babyface that you want to see get comeuppance on Kenny King here.
Exactly.
So what was this for?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like Liger would have made all the sense in the world to potentially have go over and set up for a future title shot, and it wouldn't. And Kenny King would still have a title shot in kayfabe going forward. So
yeah,
it's just really weird. You know, this Rumble was nowhere near like the All-In, what was
over the budget? Yeah,
nothing close to that. I think it was just so weird seeing so many like there were so many guys from New Japan like Ishii and Shingo Takagi and Roppongi 3K and Taguchi and all these guys.
Ishii, Suzuki.
Yeah, well I said Ishii, but yeah, definitely Suzuki. All these guys that are like bona fide legit stars. Even like Fale, you know, guys that come in and everyone knows them, they're stars. Mm-hmm. And then, like Brian Malonis, you know, comes in, or the Dogs or whatever, and you're like, what is happening right now? It was just weird. Like, it's just such a weird like spot of the night. And the problem is like all those guys that were like lower level in New Japan that were stars could have easily taken up a match or had like a deserved spot on the main card, but they couldn't because it was a shared show. Mm-hmm. Then you had all these guys that like from Ring of Honor that honestly probably didn't deserve to have like a shared spot. Like they were slotted perfectly being in an Honor Rumble, and in fact you probably could have done something else with them on the secret pre-show that nobody even saw.
Yeah,
it would have been fine.
Yeah,
I mean it's not like who else? Name someone else from Ring of Honor because I don't even know who these guys are.
PJ Black.
Okay, people do kind of know PJ Black.
The former Justin Gabriel.
I don't know what happened to him though. He looks crazy.
Yeah, Shaheem Ali.
Okay, exactly. I don't think that I don't know if anyone showed up to see Shaheem Ali. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh my god, I can't. Yeah.
And it's funny. Like James looks to me. He goes, who are all these people? He's like, I've been trying to keep up for Ring of Honor. Like, I've heard of, like, none of these people.
Yeah. So that was kind of the story of the Honor Rumble. So Kenny King is your next title challenger.
Yeah, and after him celebrating, Muta gets back in the ring, hits him with the deadly red mist, and kind of gets some comeuppance, a little bit of revenge there for Kenny King stealing the win from him.
Yep.
So then we go to the first match of
gotta send the fans home happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We had the first match of the main card, the IWGP Never title versus the ROH TV title match. So the ROH TV champion Jeff Cobb taking on the Never Openweight champion Will Ospreay, which of course this match was set up from the Honor Rising tour when Ospreay pinned Cobb, and so they set up this big title versus title match here. And I thought this was a great opening match. The crowd, we were super hot for this match. Had an excellent pacing. Thought both Cobb and Ospreay really delivered in this match. And, the whole story of this match was just Ospreay trying to deal with the kind of power and freaky athleticism of Jeff Cobb.
I gotta tell you, I loved this match. Like, really, really, really liked this match a lot. They worked at a really, really fast pace right from the get-go.
Yeah.
There was some certain like sloppiness in the match for sure, but I kind of felt like it added to what they're doing as opposed to take away from it.
Yeah.
I don't like my wrestling to always be so choreographed to where guys can't have mishaps or miscues. Mm-hmm. It just depends on how they react to it. And I think that even though these guys didn't land every single spot, just the intensity of what they were doing and it seemed very believable to me. And like there was a sense of like danger and an excitement to what they're doing. And I mean, it's exactly what you'd expect from Ospreay and Jeff Cobb. I thought this match was great.
Yeah, man. A ton of great spots in this match. Cobb, so strong, doing that stalling vertical suplex and like counting with one hand while holding Ospreay with the other hand. Of course, Ospreay hitting his the Sasuke special in the beginning, hitting a Spanish fly on Cobb. I mean, so many great spots and counters here.
One thing that was great was Ospreay and Cobb both came off like competent big level stars.
Yes.
Like, I feel like it's fine that they opened up the show, but this wound up being one of the best matches of the entire night. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it needed to be the opener. Like, it's fine that it was the opener, and I could see why it was, but I mean, this could have easily been in the top 3 or 4 matches of the night, and it was technically, I know it was ROH versus New Japan, but it's 2 guys that also are featured a lot in Ring of Honor.
Right.
They could have got rub off of it, plus since their guy was going to end up winning anyways, I don't know, I feel like maybe this shouldn't have been the opener. Maybe they should have opened with that junior, with the junior tag, or the junior title.
Yeah.
And then maybe had this go up a little higher in the card, because this match ended up being like really good. And these guys didn't come off as like awestruck by the moment, and like they came off as like, we're here and we always belonged here from the get-go. Like they looked like stars.
Yeah. And then it came down to the end. Cobb, he hits a super tour of the islands off the top, and then he hits it one more time off the ground and pins Ospreay. So Jeff Cobb is your new never openweight champion, and he retains the Ring of Honor Television Championship.
Yeah, I liked the aspect of the story where Ospreay was trying to basically go toe-to-toe with Jeff Cobb and show his ascension in the heavyweight ranks. But, like, Cobb is still, like, even though he hit Cobb with the, what's it called? The Stormbreaker? On the previous tour, it like in a one-on-one environment, that didn't prove to be the right tactic. And yeah, I mean, Cobb basically outmuscled this guy.
Yeah, and I like kind of the story they've been telling. So like, Ospreay has been beating all these heavyweights one after another.
Yep.
But he finally just hit that one heavyweight that was a little bit too much for him to chew. Like, he bit off more than he could chew here.
Are you saying that here or like in the Okada match?
In this match.
Okay.
He lost to Okada, but I mean, he was still kind of beating heavyweights. But like, so Cobb was like just too big, too strong for him.
I think it was the fact that he wanted to try to play the power game with Cobb.
Right.
And it was like, he wasn't necessarily playing the power game with all these guys he was beating, but it's like he was adding elements of that into his high-flying arsenal. But here, he really depended a lot on trying to outmuscle Jeff Cobb, which is not the right tactic.
Yeah.
And but yeah, some of the counters that they had towards the end were really crazy. At the one point when it looked like he was going to try to do not just like, I guess what would you call it, like a super Stormbreaker off the top rope.
Yeah.
And that was his undoing, because you were like, what is he about to do?
Right, like, there's no way he can pull that off.
That's when it basically got countered into the Super Tour of the Islands. And then I was, I really thought this match was great. The story was great. And, Jeff Cobb won, which I definitely predicted last week. I think, you were with Ospreay, huh?
Yeah, I was with Ospreay. I was thinking that they would want to get some ROH dates with him. And a great way to do that would be put that TV title on him. But, with Best of Super Juniors coming up, and with Ospreay, looks like he's going to be in that tournament, makes sense to kind of get the never belt off of him while he's going to be in that tournament.
Yeah, it looks like some of the logic I laid out the other week is paying off here, so that feels good.
And speaking of Ospreay, I forgot to touch on this earlier when we were talking about Suplex Mania. We had a question from Reddit user Mr. ACP, and he asked, did Josh have the stones to confront Will Ospreay at Suplex Mania?
Let's be clear here. I do have the stones to confront Will Ospreay. Let's not get it twisted at all. But I didn't speak to the man. I barely acknowledged him. He was, what was weird though? He was only there for 2 matches. So it was weird that he even wanted to, he was looking for a place to watch it, because they dipped quick. But
him and Bea Priestley dipped quickly.
But his whole crew stayed. And I mean, there was a lot of them. They took up a big portion of the top floor. So that was weird, but yeah, he did come over and he's like, see ya, gents, or some crap.
Yeah, said bye to us, yeah.
It was fine. I bet you, in that scenario, in that setting, he probably would have talked to us if I'd tried, but I just didn't feel like I even wanted to, so. I didn't talk to the guy. But, would I? Absolutely I would. Would I be like, yo, you told me to fuck off last year? Probably not, but, yeah. That's how it went down.
So next match on the card, we have Toro Blanco Rush taking on Dalton Castle.
So this is our first ROH match of the night.
Yeah, Rush came out in the white suit looking like Tetsuya Naito.
Yeah, he had an awesome entrance, Dalton Castle did.
Dalton Castle had the huge, peacock, I don't even know what you would call that, a float almost kind of thing.
Yeah, peacock feathers, the boys, the pageantry. I mean, it was his usual entrance, but really, really done up for the Garden. He stepped up on the boys to get into the ring. Dalton came out looking like a star, and then Rush came out, and Rush looked like, when he came out, he looked like he was freaking ready for war.
Yeah, and so the boys ended up distracting Dalton Castle before the bell rang. Then the bell rang, and then Rush hits a running drop kick, and then he hits 2 bullhorns, which are running drop kicks, into the corner, and he beats Dalton Castle in 19 seconds.
Is that his finisher?
Yep, the bull's horns.
Okay, I didn't realize that was his finisher. So yeah, he fucked this man up. This is pretty bad.
Yeah, squashed this man. As soon as he hit the first drop kick, we were like, oh man, Castle's getting squashed.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
But I kind of didn't think he really would until, I didn't know that those were his finishers.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was done, dude.
But I mean, this is a great way to build Rush up and get him hot. And I think Rush is somebody that Ring of Honor should be building around and kind of using him as a top star of the company. And, Dalton Castle, man, he's still hurting and, he's kind of shot. And so, post-match, he was dejected and he attacked the boys, laid them out, and turned heel in the process.
Yeah, the post-match was pretty good. This, altogether, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it, it was a match, but, as an angle, it was pretty good. I mean, it made Rush look like a serious championship contender. I mean, if you want my opinion about who should get the next title shot, it didn't look like Kenny King, scurrying in and throwing a couple, aged legends over the top rope. Rush coming in and literally dismantling Dalton Castle in seconds, who's not that far removed from his previous title reign. Rush looks like the next guy. But I don't know. The whole thing with Dalton Castle, I see that they're turning him heel. My concern is just, can he still go? Because he seems pretty broken. They couldn't even really do a match here. Well, maybe they could have, but maybe this is just the booking decision for time or for whatever reason. I'm not sure. But he's such a great talker. I'm like wondering, like, should they just move him to a talking position at this point?
Yeah. A heel manager or authority figure or commentary or something.
He's great on commentary.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, like, I bet you'd be a lot better than Caprice Coleman. Be a lot better than Colt Cabana. Better than probably who else is on their team?
Ian Riccaboni.
I like Ian Riccaboni. Like, I think they'd be good together. So yeah, I don't know. But I don't know what's next for Dalton Castle. I mean, what do you think's next for Roosh and Dalton Castle?
I think so. I think eventually Roosh is going to get a Ring of Honor World Title shot. Don't know when that's going to be. I expect it'll be saved for a big pay-per-view. But I see Roosh continuing to elevate.
They're going to belt this man up.
Yeah, they're going to belt him up. They're going to continue to build him as a star of the product. Dalton, I'm not sure where he goes. I'm sure maybe potentially a feud with one of the Lifeblood guys. With him being heel, he'll become dishonorable, and Lifeblood's all about fighting for honor. So who knows? Maybe he ends up feuding with the Lifeblood guys. Has some matches maybe with Hot Sauce and Bandito and Juice and Mark Haskins maybe. So we'll see what happens there. But speaking of Juice, after that segment with Dalton attacking the boys, we cut to backstage and Juice Robinson's been laid out by somebody.
Yeah, what the crap? So Juice is just laid out, and then we get no explanation, and then we go to the Women of Honor Championship match.
Yeah, so the Women of Honor World Champion Mayu Iwatani defending against Kelly Klein. And, man.
So Kelly Klein comes out with her entire fight team. I gotta ask you, why is Fred Yehi one of the members of her fight team?
I have no idea, but that was kind of sad to see.
That was sad, bro.
Like, Yehi at one point was like one of the top indie stars.
Bro, he's been in PWG, like
Evolve,
guy.
MLW.
What's happening?
No idea.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But Kelly Klein decides she wants to go one-on-one. She wants to have honor here, so she sends her team to the back, and then her and Mayu Iwatani proceed to have a completely forgettable and average match. I mean, I don't even know if I'd go 3 stars in this. I'm like probably 2 3/4.
Dude, I'm like less than that.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I thought this match was bad.
It was bad, but you know what? I'll tell you this. I buried the other match they had at the 17th anniversary pretty hard. I did think this was better than that, but only in the way where I would say it was competent. Whereas I wouldn't this was not good, but it was like they didn't do anything that was really like crazy. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of chin holds or like a lot of rest holds, a lot of chin locks, arm bars.
Yeah, I just feel like Mayu and Kelly they cannot have a good match with each other. And
I don't believe that at all. I think that if they did what I had said last week, put in the work, map out a match, and actually come up with a match that's compelling, then they could do something passable. I think that this is an indication. I mean, we don't know what people are doing, but this looked like a call it in the ring bullcrap match. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, looking at the access that Ring of Honor has to women from Stardom, I'm like, man, this would have been a great chance to showcase another Stardom girl, do Mayu against somebody from Stardom, and you could have had an awesome women's match.
Well, the thing is, they're in on Kelly Klein, and I don't really know why.
Same here.
She's been their girl for a while, but she's just not good.
Yeah, I mean.
But yep, Kelly Klein basically gets the win here, defeats Mayu Iwatani. They shake hands, and then right after that, something that no one asked for, but
but we got it.
But we got it anyways.
Angelina Love and Velvet Sky, the beautiful people that used to be in TNA, come out and.
All I want to know is where's Lacey Von Erich. Yo, I love Lacey Von Erich.
Maybe she'll be next. But yeah, so they come into the ring and do their normal beautiful people entrance and kind of square off with Kelly. But then Mandy Leone kind of runs from commentary and joins Kelly in the ring. But eventually...
she takes off her heel and stabs her in the head like she's Woman in 1995.
Yeah.
Or like Miss Elizabeth.
So then Mandy, Angelina, and Velvet, they all jump Kelly Klein.
Apparently, what's the other chick that just left that was part of the Beautiful People?
Madison Rayne.
So Madison Rayne was the one who asked for this and wanted it, and then they gave it to her, and then she still left the company anyways.
Yeah.
So now apparently, like, Angelina Love, we got Love and Velvet Sky in 2019 when these girls' heyday was like 2010.
Yeah, even before that.
They weren't even good back then either. Like,
yeah.
You know, fun fact, Velvet Sky is the long-term committed girlfriend of Bully Ray. Or are they married?
I don't think they're married. I think they're just dating. I could be wrong.
That should tell you a little something, but, you know, it does, just like Jeremy was saying, it's like, okay, think about this. AEW has teased and is probably desperately trying to get some sort of working relationship with Stardom, because Stardom is probably the most, like, you know, I don't know if prolific's the right word, but, you know, the most exposed Joshi promotion out there. And so they're trying to work with them, and they can't because they're with Ring of Honor. And what's Ring of Honor doing with those girls? Nothing. They're bringing
dark match.
Yeah.
Pre-show.
Yeah, but instead they're going to bring in Angelina Love and Velvet Sky and, you know, showcase Mandy Leone. Like, I just think that they don't have their finger on the pulse of, like, what, you know?
No. I mean, the Women of Honor division is just a complete disaster. It always has been, and this reminds me of TNA back in the day when they would bring in a ex-WWE guy and, like, push him to the moon.
Yeah.
And not even, like, some, you know, they did get some good workers from WWE, but sometimes they'd get some bums and they'd, like, skyrocket them towards the top, and you're just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so they had, you know, Kelly Klein, like, be the domineering heel throughout the whole feud and throughout the match, and then she wins, and it's honorable or whatever. But now,
then
now they're gonna get heat on her with these other heels who just came in, and it's like, what's the deal with you know, Ring of Honor and heels versus heels? Like, is this WWE? Like, this is Heat Mania? Like,
well, I think they were trying to turn Kelly face. They did have her shake Mayu's hand after the match, adhere to the code of honor. And then, so they put the boots to her. Jenny Rose and Stella Gray try to come out and save her, but they put the boots to her as well. And then they put the lipstick out, and they draw a red A on Kelly Klein's forehead with the lipstick, which the name of their new group is called the Allure.
Oh, okay. I thought they were still going to be the Beautiful People.
No, I guess that's trademarked by Impact. So they're going to be the Allure going forward.
Although, I thought that, like, you could, if you ever competed for them, you could always use your gimmick from now on. Isn't that a thing with them?
Maybe it is, but I guess they just wanted to go with a different name for whatever reason.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, so Women of Honor sucks. They need to utilize these women from Japan that they got and do something, but they're not going to, so we'll move on. So after that, we get the Bully Ray Open Challenge, and as we talked about earlier in the show, we saw Juice Robinson completely laid out in the back, people running away, trying to get medical attention. So the nerdcore rapper Mega Ran comes out. Crowd does not know who Mega Ran is.
And there's, even if they knew who he was, like, they were not into him at all. I mean,
he kept being like if y'all love wrestling, like,
say yeah. Everyone's like, boo, like booing this man out the building. And the thing is, like, this happened at the 17th anniversary also.
They already did this.
They brought Mega Ran out there, angle of Bully Ray, and he got booed out the building. But because he did the song for this pay-per-view, they wanted to give him a little spotlight, and once again, booed out the building.
It's another thing, too. It's like, in my experience with wrestling, and just in general, anytime you have a big wrestling show, usually when you do a musical performance, no one could care less. They're not there for Mega Ran. They're not there for any musical act. They're, you know, it's like when Flo Rida did his thing at WrestleMania. It's like,
right, or Pitbull or whoever else.
What people do like, though, is when you have a musical act do live renditions of songs to introduce the wrestlers, because it it enhances what's going on.
Right.
I don't know why promoters haven't like gotten that. Like, we want the pageantry of the event. We don't want the event to be brought to a standstill.
Right.
Luckily, this didn't go on very long. It literally went on for like not even 20 seconds or whatever. And then Bully Ray interrupts coming out and it just looks so pissed. And then Mega Ran is like, Bully, please let, like, he's terrible on the mic because he's like, just not, it's not his world, you know, and he's trying to be a promo, and he's like, come on, man, why are we doing this, blah, blah, blah. Like, this whole, it's like 2 years in a row now at WrestleMania Weekend where I've seen a terrible segment involving Bully Ray, and it's like, God, why are we doing this so long?
Yeah, so, Bully eventually beats him up and gets him out of there. And then Bully's like, Juice, apparently, Juice Robinson got laid out. I told you guys that Juice wasn't going to make it to this open challenge. So the challenge is open again. Who wants to accept? And then we get a huge pop when Flip Gordon's music hits.
Yeah. So this was something that, like, I'm kind of torn on it. Like, I don't know how to really feel about it. Flip came out. Flip looked great, and it was awesome, and then, like, a relief to know that he came out. But then I was like, well, then was this whole crap about his knee just a work this whole time?
I think it might. I'm guessing it is.
And part of me, like, respects the hustle. The other part of me is, like, a lot of, like, reputable people were reporting on this, so that kind of sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
The other part of me is also like, well, Flip definitely needed to be on this card, but we already saw Flip and Bully Ray. They paid it off. Like, this is like a regression and not like progression,
Right.
So then, anyway, so Flip comes out. He's being dynamic, and him and Bully are fighting. And then Silas Young and Shane Taylor come out. They get involved, which I was surprised we hadn't seen them in the Honor Rumble.
Same here.
Because they're like two of the bigger stars that like should have been in it, but they just weren't. So they come out. Suddenly, Juice Robinson and Mark Haskins decide to come out. Like, no explanation for why Juice has suddenly recovered. Like, he was laid out so badly. Like, I would have at least respected if he had, like, a bandage or some crap.
Right, or if he had, like, limped down to the ring or something.
Nah, nothing like that.
No, he just came down with a cart of weapons. Him and Haskins, they're like, let's turn this into a 6-man tag.
So they're like, sure thing. And, this wasn't, like, a bad match, but I didn't think it was, like, good either. I think it went too long.
Yeah, it went too long.
How long was it?
15 minutes and 5 seconds. Yeah,
it was way too long. The other thing too is, like, what I like when Flip and Bully Ray wrestled the last time. That was at the anniversary show, wasn't it? Or maybe it wasn't.
It wasn't at the 17th anniversary. It was at Best in the World, Final Battle.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, so when they fought at Final Battle, I loved that match because it was so reminiscent of ECW style, like, crazy main events. Like, this was more reminiscent of, like, the WCW hardcore, like, division. Like, it just felt like kind of crap. Like, just stuff was happening for no real reason, and it was just all over the place.
And nobody was really even into it either.
The crowd, you know what? I will say this. I rewatched it. I thought the crowd was pretty into it, but it wasn't. I don't know. It just felt like a waste of time.
Yeah,
which is a sucky thing to say because there's so many talented guys on the in the match.
Right. But when you think about this 15-minute match and then plus the segment ahead of time, this whole thing was probably like 20-minute slot.
Longer than that probably with all the entrances.
And then you got guys like Minoru Suzuki and Tomohiro Ishii on the pre-show.
Yeah. Plus they had Suzuki getting teased for this thing, and it was just kind of like a red herring. There's no reason to even. Not only that, but like the whole thing just seems like there never was really a direction for it because Bully Ray came out on the pay-per-view and he's like, I can't say who you are now, but you know who you are if you have the balls to answer, Punk, right?
Right.
That indicates that there's some particular single individual. We're going to get some sort of big surprise, and the payoff is Lifeblood and Flip.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. Like, you're in Matt. You know what? They could have. What would have been better is not do an open challenge and just set this crap up on TV so we know what it is, and then we at least we're expecting it.
Right, and we know what we're dealing with.
Don't act like you've got some big surprise. This is like that episode of The Office where like Michael tells everyone he's got a big surprise, and then at the end of the day, he doesn't have anything. Like that's what this.
Yeah,
that's basically
exactly
what
this felt like.
So yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
And there are reports that Bully Ray is becoming more active with the booking decisions in Ring of Honor, and like I don't know, it kind of feels like maybe some of that's showing because like some of this booking from on the Ring of Honor side is like real questionable.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, Flip Juice and Mark Haskins do win. So yeah, there's that.
So now we have New Japan to come and bring this show back to order. We have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match for the champion, the Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori, defending against Dragon Lee and Bandito. And man, this was just an awesome sprint. As soon as the bell rang, these guys were just going at it, flying all over the place, and just crazy spot right one after another.
Yeah, bro, we had Dragon Lee leaping over the ropes to deliver Hurricane Ranas, Ishimori doing his crazy dancing through the ropes just to like confuse the guys and just be like technically daring and spectacular. Bandito delivering a top rope backflip power slam to both of his opponents at the same time. Like this match was a spot fest, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean it was only 8 minutes and 55 seconds, but
yeah,
it felt longer. Based off this, all the stuff they were doing, all the spots they were doing.
Very, very innovative. At a certain point, all three guys were just like laid out, and you could believe that they should be laid out. And they're probably only like 4 or 5 minutes into the match, and you're like, my God, these guys have been going forever because they packed so much into such a small amount of time. I do want to say, shout out to the amount of action that they gave in this match. It does somewhat remind me of like Dynamite and Tiger Mask when they like people forget that when they wrestled in the Garden, they wrestled for like I think 6 minutes, 8 minutes, and like the crowd was just so like dazzled with how much they did in a short amount of time. And this is the IWGP Junior Championship is the spiritual successor to the WWF Junior Championship that was defended in New Japan back in the 80s. And so like this felt in some ways like a little bit of a homage to that. Like these guys didn't have a lot of time, but they went out there and put on what a lot of people called match of the night. Like it was excellent.
Yeah, I mean just fast and furious pace, crazy spots. I mean Bandito with the double moonsault slam it's definitely gonna go down as one of the spots of the weekend and just
of the year, man.
Yeah, of the year. Just a great moment.
There were so many destroyers and Hurricane Ranas and like drop kicks. Just it was really crazy.
Yeah,
the crowd was really into this.
And this is a match that could have benefited from more time. They could have cut 5 minutes off the Bully stuff.
This should have got 15 minutes, and the Bully match should have got like 6 or 7 minutes. We would have been fine.
Exactly. So Dragon Lee ends up hitting the Disintegratora. I don't know if I said that right. I think it's also called a Dragonplex too. But he hits that on Bandito and gets the pin. And we have a new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Dragon Lee.
I was very surprised when this happened. I think it was smart the way they did it because, like, when Bandito did that spot with the top rope backflip power slam to both opponents, it was just a matter of moments later when he was getting beat. So they made him look really awesome and strong, but then set him up to take the pinfall almost immediately. Ishimori obviously didn't get pinned here, so he has some deniability, and it sets up a future match down the road, and we'll talk about that later. But Dragon Lee is now the IWGP Junior Champion. He's been chasing this title for years and years, never won it. This is his first reign. And the one thing, though, is when he won it, I was expecting Hiromu to come out.
Yeah, dude, as soon as he won, I was like, Hiromu, it's time for Hiromu to come out. And no Hiromu. They just cut to the next segment.
And we didn't really get a Dragon Lee like promo either.
Right.
So obviously we know where we're heading with this, so there's not too much to complain about, and the match was excellent. But it did feel to me like if you're going to do this, you have to set up the Hiromu match. But They're not going to do that yet. I actually don't know when they're going to do that.
I have no idea.
Remember last week I said on the show, I was like, I'm going to stop speculating on Hiromu.
At this point, I'm kind of over it.
I'm going to stop speculating. When he comes back, he comes back. But great match. The only thing I will say, though, on the rewatch, I was a little lower on it because it didn't have enough time. I felt like it was one of the best sub 10-minute matches you could expect, but people were acting like it was really. I saw a lot of people 4.5, stuff like that. I don't think I could reasonably give it a rating like that because it was pretty short.
Yeah,
but it was spectacular for what it was. Big recommend.
Missed a question on the Juice match from Reddit user Mr. Wombat William, who was hanging out with us all weekend. He said, considering Juice didn't defend his championship at the G1 Supercard, yet they made room for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship match, do you think NJPW is really that serious about the U.S. Championship?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of talked about this last week. The U.S. Championship was a tool that they created to help with the Western expansion, put it on Kenny Omega, and it was supposed to be this kind of big thing. But then after they took it off of Kenny, it just kind of pretty much became an afterthought and didn't really get a lot of focus and, a lot of, it was almost an afterthought. And clearly the Rev Pro relationship seems to be stronger in New Japan, and just the booking just works so much, hand in hand with what New Japan is doing. And I think they kind of hold the Rev Pro title in higher esteem than the U.S. Championship.
Yeah, I mean, they've had other championships that they've abandoned in the past. They had the IWGP U30 Openweight Championship, the NWF Heavyweight Championship that they resurrected for a while. They had the WWF International Heavyweight Championship. So there'll be titles. There have been titles in the past that they have intended to do something with and have a real purpose behind it, but then later on they kind of abandon it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I mean that's happened in the past before, and it feels like they had there's another one that I was trying to think of. That Ricky Choshu was. Oh yeah, the Greatest 18 Championship. That's the other one. So they've had some titles in the past that they intended to have different purposes, and then eventually, for booking reasons or whatever, they just kind of abandon it. It does feel like the U.S. title holds little to no importance now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if down the line they eventually unify it with the IC belt.
I mean, the whole point was to utilize it for to strengthen the relationship with Ring of Honor and to help expand into the Western market, but they've barely utilized it for that purpose, and it's not getting a good rap in Japan either.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple, If you want to have the title mean something, you have to put it on somebody that you book strong. And as over as Juice is and as big of a star as he is, they haven't made him look good since he won the belt. So
yeah, I mean, he dropped it immediately to Cody. Then he had that horrible G1. Then he won it back from Cody and not that great of a match. And so, yeah, they need to just get behind Juice and give him a good title run here.
If they can.
Yeah. So, question from Reddit user WRPLA101. Said he really enjoyed the Suplex Mania live podcast we did. Cool conversation.
Thank you. I actually wasn't sure how that was going to turn out.
Yeah, it ended up turning up pretty good. So, yeah, it's in the archive, so you can check that out. He says, how do you think they will use Dragon Lee as junior champion? And how does it change the landscape for the upcoming Best of Super Juniors? Is it too obvious to assume we're headed for Lee and Hiromu for the belt at a big show?
No, I don't think that's too obvious to assume that. It doesn't mean that they'll end up doing it. Obviously, they could do whatever they want to do. But, that's a big match. And that's a match that people want to see. They've been teasing for a long time. So, I mean, that all makes sense. Now, how does it change the landscape? I mean, I am still kind of shocked that they took the belt off Ishimori.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason I picked Dragon Lee to win this match because I felt like the Hiromu comeback was coming, and they were going to get ready to set that program up. And eventually that program is going to happen. And I mean, Dragon Lee is a guy who has been featured in the junior division for quite some time now and has never won the belt. So it is great that he has a belt, and it does kind of change things up a little bit. And so, we're going to talk about, his next defense in the news. But I expect him to, be pushed very heavily in the Best of the Super Junior tournament, potentially even be in the finals. So yeah, I mean, it's just, more Dragon Lee in New Japan, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I think that is one thing, is that it does set him up to have he always has a strong Best of Super Juniors, but now it makes it highly likely that he'll be right there near the top of the finals. Mm-hmm. And I do think things are a little bit different this year. I could see, if he's the champion, him going to the finals, especially, I don't know if he will be, but if Hiromu was involved in the tournament, if you want to do Sumo Hall and have those two guys headline against one another, that will draw money. So yeah, that's a possibility.
Or you could go with Dragon Lee winning the tournament. He beats all the challengers, and then if let's say Hiromu's not in the tournament, then you have Hiromu come out and challenge him at Dominion.
That would be great to see that happen. I didn't even think of that possibility. That makes a lot of sense. But the only thing with that is whoever he's facing, they're going to have to draw at Sumo Hall. That's the only thing about it, is whoever ends up, that's the thing that they got in front of them. They have to map out a Best of Super Juniors that winds up with a finals that is going to help them to actually draw and sell out Sumo Hall. Yeah. Which is, so I do feel like, in a way, we'll talk about it later, but Best of Super Juniors, I think it will be somewhat more predictable in terms of who's going to the finals, the same way the New Japan Cup was, because they're putting themselves in situations where they need big matchups at the end. So it takes away some of the opportunity for some of the the upsets, or the I don't know what you would call it, but the Cinderella Man type runs at the end. We might not be getting that this year.
Yeah. Another question from our good old pal Amy at Phoenix NJPW. She says, with Dragon Lee winning the IWGP Junior title and Best of Super Junior coming up, who do you see being a viable contender for the title, and why is it Hiromu? He said, okay, but beyond Hiromu, who else do you see as a viable contender for the junior title going forward?
Desperado. Yeah, I think Desperado is somebody that people are probably not necessarily thinking of or sleeping on, but these two guys have a long storied history with one another. Fantastic match involving their masks last year at Best of Super Juniors. And even as recently as the Fantastic Mania tour, they were teasing a potential match between them for their masks once again. So that's my first pick.
Yeah, Desperado makes a ton of sense, and they've been slowly kind of elevating him in single roles. Excuse my voice, guys. It's like I mentioned, I'm having a hard time getting it back, and
dude, me too.
It's
a rough episode.
Yeah, it's starting to go again. So yeah, Desperado makes a ton of sense. I mean, hey, Shingo Takagi. I mean, he's a guy that they've been building. He's still
I feel like Shingo's gonna steamroll whoever is in front. You talk about somebody going through the whole Best of Super Juniors and beating everybody. I could see Shingo literally going through the Best Super Juniors and beating everybody in his block.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing how Dragon Lee's title run plays out. So next up on the card, we get the Ring of Honor and IWGP tag title match. Both belts on the line. The IWGP tag champions, the Guerrillas of Destiny, versus the ROH tag champions, Villain Enterprises of PCO and Brody King, versus the Briscoes, versus Sonata and Evil. And so PCO had a great entrance here. They rolled him out on the electric chair. We see the TV debut of Destro. We see Destro in all these videos on YouTube and Twitter. This is the first time that he's actually been featured with PCO on a wrestling show that I can think of So Destro's out there, and he gets PCO on the electric chair and shocks him up and gets him ready for the matchup. And then we kick things off with this Fatal 4-Way tag match.
Yeah, I loved his entrance. I was so happy and excited to see PCO. 1 year ago, we were at Joey Janela's spring break watching him, take on Walter in a match that was kind of like a camp or just a nostalgia thing where I was like, oh my God, PCO is fighting Walter.
Pierre Carlette?
Yeah, I was like, we have to see this. And I remember at the time saying that, and I think you guys were kind of like, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is ridiculous. And even at the beginning of the match, I was like, man, what are we watching right now? But then the match ended up being incredible.
It ended up being one of the best matches of the whole year.
And PCO beat Walter, and it was just that boomed PCO and just got him so many indie bookings.
Seeing this guy go from being a shtick piece on a camp card, at midnight on a WrestleMania weekend, in a match that was just a nostalgia match, to he's in a top match at Madison Square Garden 1 year later, having one of the most involved and well received entrances of the whole night. This was just so excellent. So I was so happy to see PCO come out like that, and him and Destro is really cool. Also, the Girls' Destiny had a pretty cool entrance as well.
Yeah, they came out with the the little light up helmets.
Those helmets, who are they supposed to be looking at? Like Deathstroke?
I think so, yeah.
They look pretty cool. But yeah, everybody here was pretty over. I mean, you've got 4 teams that are really over. Villain Enterprises, Evil and Sonata, Briscoes, God. And you know what? This match was pretty much like a train wreck, but not in a bad way.
Right. I mean, this was all over the place. They
there was almost no point where anybody. Were they even doing tags?
I don't think they were. If they did, it was 1 or 2. I mean, they were just flying all over the place, brawling all over the place.
They were all over the place.
Tiger Hattori was a ref for this match, and he had no chance to keep control of this thing.
I was listening to the commentary, and Kevin Kelly was like, I'm pretty sure them putting Tiger in there is a rib. He's like, I'm convinced that this is a rib.
Yeah.
Tiger had no control.
Yeah. And then we had the crazy spot of this match and another spot of the weekend spot of the year when God power bombs PCO out of the ring to the floor, straight to the mat.
And you know what else, too? That wasn't even that was the last big spot he took, but before that, he did a freaking senton to the outside.
On the apron, yeah.
On the apron. He, on the inside, he did a freaking moonsault. He did something else that was crazy to the outside.
He did a cannonball plancha.
Yeah, he did cannonball plancha. This dude was taking, more big bumps than anybody else. And I mean, PCO is mad old. This is crazy.
Yeah. And at least with the apron bump, usually the guy moves and he just hits the ring. At least this time I believe it was Tama Tonga. I think he had it on. Tama actually took it.
Yeah, and then he even, after they threw him to the outside, he, sat up and came to life. The people lost their mind, but then he died after that.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're kind of just giving it broad strokes, but everyone was great in this match. Evil and Sonata, Villain Enterprise, Briscoes. This wasn't a classic match or anything, but it was still really good for what it was. I was probably 3.5 on it.
Yeah, I'm also 3.5. It was a good 10-minute match. Like you mentioned, all guys are over. They hit all their signature spots. Crowd was really with it. And then towards the end, we get a gun stun on Brody King. And then they hit the super powerbomb on King. And God gets the win.
It was smart, too, because God being the IWGP champions, they pinned the legitimate Ring of Honor Tag Team champions. So there's no, oh, they didn't really win it. They won it.
They didn't pin the Briscoes. They didn't pin LIJ. They pinned Villain Enterprises. And so now God are your dual champions, Ring of Honor Tag Champs, and the IWGP Tag Champs. I'm happy to say I predicted that one correctly.
You know what? I was so torn on it at the end. At first, I didn't really think too much about it, but the way you guys started talking about it, I was like, yeah, you're laying out a pretty compelling scenario here. God winning sounds very likely. So I wish I would have chosen that. Unfortunately, I didn't. But I think the thing most people were talking about at the end of this match was the run-in that we got.
Yeah, so we got a lot of shenanigans. Well, first of all, Yano steals the IWGP Tag Team titles.
That's right.
So clearly they're setting up a program there. And then we had...
Like, what, him and Makabe, I guess?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Dontaku tour in a little bit. So as Yano steals the titles, we have Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Yes, that Enzo Amore, that Big Cass jumped the rail, and they're getting to a brawl with the Briscoes. Bully Ray runs out of nowhere, and he's brawling with them. And at first we were like, what is going on? Like, first, I thought it was a fan that jumped the railing and was attacking the Briscoes.
Yeah, because just earlier in the night, we'd been sitting there. We heard the story about Bret Hart getting tackled at the, what was that? At
the Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame ceremony, which was also crazy. And I'm glad that they lit up that dude pretty badly. But then we saw this, and we're like, is it happening again?
Yeah. And but then we realized it's Enzo, and no security came. So it kept going on and going. All right, this is definitely a work. There's no way that they would just let these guys just be bumbling out here, holding up the show if this wasn't a work.
Yeah, I rewatched the television presentation, and they purposely made the cameras like go away from them. They didn't let the commentators acknowledge anything about it at all.
Right. I think Ian was like, get the camera on God or something like that.
Something.
Yeah. And so, yeah, these guys are brawling, and then eventually security comes and pulls them off. You know, the crowd were chanting, F you, Enzo, booing these guys. And so, yeah, so it looks like, you know, first they bring in the beautiful people, now they're bringing in Enzo and Cass. I mean...
I don't know about this one either. Enzo and Cass are a team that I don't know. I don't like you guys know. I don't watch a ton of WWE, but I do recognize that they were stars at one point. And you know, we did see them like just 1 year ago. Some of the stories that were coming out about Big Cass made me think like this guy's gonna die, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like no joke. So I do think that it's good that there's a redemption story for them, and maybe that they can find a place to work. But in terms of like Ring of Honor, I don't know if like this is a good move for Ring of Honor at all.
Right. I mean, the core of Ring of Honor has always been the wrestling. You know, you go all the way back to the beginning. All the guys, they've had all the super workers throughout the years.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you know, the past few years, Ring of Honor, definitely not as strong as, you know, the earlier years. But they've still had some great wrestling.
They just keep getting poached, the problem.
Yeah. But, and so now they're bringing in Enzo and Cass, who are both of those guys are horrible workers. They're good promos, but Ring of Honor is traditionally not a promo company. So it's like, you know, people are like, yeah, it'll be awesome to see, you know, the Briscoes just beat the crap out of Enzo. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I really don't want to see these guys have matches.
You know what? That is kind of true. But if you think back, there's plenty of times that they've brought in, like, outside acts that didn't stay with the company for long periods of time. So who knows?
Right. So we have a question here from Mr. Wombat. He says, first of all, he said, had a really great time at Suplex Mania. He said, with Tama Tonga mentioning Enzo and Cass by name on Twitter, do you think there's a real possibility of a feud between the four? I don't think the match would be anything to write home about, but the social media and promo exchanges should be quite entertaining.
Yeah, so he said something on Twitter, essentially, about, like, Ring of Honor deciding to have Enzo and Cass come out and beat up the losers of the match. Great booking idea.
Yeah.
If you want my honest opinion, I don't think they're trying to set up any sort of program between God and Enzo and Cass. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think they are. I mean, they attacked the Briscoes.
You know what I think that was? I think it's just Tama being Tama, and just now they could hypothetically turn that into an angle, but it didn't seem like they were, like, based on who they attacked and the way they came in and all that that's what they were trying to do.
Right, and then in the press conference, you had Tama throwing the Ring of Honor belt, and you know.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he threw the belt. He's like, nobody gives a F about no Ring of Honor.
I think that's funny. I think what he was saying was just true, basically being like, what kind of freaking, like, booking is this? This is terrible booking. And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like him being like Tama. That's all I think it was.
Being a straight shooter. So we'll see what happens with this whole Enzo and Cass stuff going forward. So after this,
so we got to the meat and potatoes of the card, the top four title matches of the night.
Yeah.
Start us off with Zack Sabre Jr. defending against the Ace of the Universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and I was pumped for this match.
So was I. I mean, it's always great to see the Ace in action. It's always great to see Sabre. Also, I mean, guys, you might not like his style, but you got to respect what he does in the ring, and he's just a great wrestler, the best technical wrestler out there right now.
I really liked this match. You know what? When I saw it live, I was like, this is really good, but I'm not sure how to judge it. Mm-hmm. And I saw a lot of people saying negative, disparaging things about it, and saying it was boring or saying that it didn't deliver. So I was just like, okay, that's possible, Mm-hmm. I mean, how long did they go? Like 15 minutes?
15 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah, they got a good amount of time. I got to tell you, Jeremy, I rewatched this match, and I was sitting there like, this is really, really good. I like it. I think it might be my favorite Zack Sabre Hiroshi Tanahashi match.
So I didn't get a chance to rewatch this one yet back on TV, but from watching it live, I thought almost the same opinion as you. I thought it was very good, but watching it live, I didn't feel like it was the best Sabre and Tanahashi match. I feel like they've had better matches, but I still thought this was a great match.
Here's the thing. I always like their matches, but I'm never as high on them as other people are. Like, for instance, that New Japan Cup final that they had last year. Really good match, but I saw people being like 5 stars and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no. I think I liked the shorter time limit that they went on this match. Mm-hmm. And here's something I thought about today when I was watching Zach. And you tell me if you think that this is a bad observation. I feel like Zach is not a good game planner when it comes to wrestling. Like, I feel like Zach is a very reactionary type of guy. Like, he goes in there with no game plan because he's so much more talented and skilled that he just flows with the match, and whatever happens, and he pretty much is like a wrestling genius in the fact that like he's not actually setting out a strategy ahead of time. Like, some wrestlers always have a strategy. Mm-hmm. I don't think Zach ever has a strategy. Hardly at all. I think he just finds like a weakness in the match and then tries to exploit it. But then also that plays into when he gets in these like angry strike battles that he shouldn't be getting into, or when he's playing with the guy when he shouldn't. Like, I don't think Zach ever has a game plan. Do you feel like that maybe that's true?
Kind of. Part of it too. I think he's more of a defensive wrestler.
Oh, that's true too.
So like he's not coming in like, all right, I'm gonna blitz this guy with this big offensive attack. He's like, I'm gonna let this guy come to me, and depending on what this guy does, then I'm going to do some kind of hold or submission or counter.
I guess that's what I meant when I said he's reactionary.
Yeah,
that's probably a different way of saying the same thing you're saying. That's. Yeah. But you would think about, when you think about Zach and you think about his technical acumen, you would think, oh well, he's gonna exploit a limb or something. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he does. I think he literally goes in there with, like, how they're like, call it in the ring. Like, I think Zach's literally like doesn't plan out his matches. Like, he's just calling the matches in the ring and just like, all right, we got 15 minutes, let's go out there, let's do it.
Yeah.
But like that plays into the story of his matches. But he came out here. I thought him and Tanahashi had a really good match. I will say this though. Amy told me last week that every single time Tanahashi comes out with a ponytail, it means he's winning the big match. And he definitely came out with a ponytail this night.
But the big one was not here for him. The whole ponytail thing,
ponytail theory that
was broken.
That was broken, yeah.
Yeah, Sabre pretty much, towards the end wrapped Tanahashi up with the orienteering with Napalm Death. And,
when he finally locked in the orienteering and was like, they were struggling for it, and he was just starting to wrench back at Tanahashi's arm, you could hear the crowd like groaning, like so loud.
I knew it was over. As soon as he locked in the orienteering, I'm like, he's tapping.
Yeah. And then like Tanahashi kind of fought out of it, and then he like leaned over and pulled the arm all the way back, and then he grabbed the foot, and you're like, oh, it's freaking over. Like, he got him. No, this is the orienteering, is it? It's not. You know what it is? No, it's not. It's his other move. The orienteering with Napalm Death is that banana split move. This was the one where he traps the two arms, then grabs the leg. This is that, like, the one he calls it.
The one that you were calling the impossible lock?
No. This is that one that's like the hurrah, the...
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know the name of that.
Yeah.
I hate the name of that. It's stupid. But it's a great move.
Yeah, got the win here. Sabre retains the title. You know, I went with Tanahashi.
Yeah, I did too.
In the predictions, I figured with Royal Quest coming up, it would be cool for Tanahashi to be the Rev Pro champion going into that show. But clearly they have other plans, and they're keeping the belt on Sabre here. Yeah,
and up to this point on the show, every single title changed hands. So this is the only successful title defense on the show. It was a nice touch. They had the owner of Rev Pro out there with the belt to hand it to Zach. They also had their own referee there, so Rev Pro had like a pretty strong presence. And this felt like a pretty big deal. I mean, when you consider Zach and the fact that he won this belt in the Tokyo Dome, now he's defended it in Madison Square Garden, you probably have to consider this to be one of the most, successful Rev Pro like title reigns of all time.
Yeah. So then we move on to the IWGP Intercontinental title match with the challenger Kota Ibushi facing the champion Tetsuya Naito. And I haven't had a chance to rewatch this one on TV yet either, but live I thought this was a freaking amazing matchup. I love this match. This is one of my favorite matches of the whole weekend. Ibushi and Naito get out there before they even lock up. The crowd is chanting, "This is awesome."
They were, yeah.
The crowd was molten hot, super into everything that both of these guys are doing.
Naito had a freaking awesome entrance.
Yes.
Out here stunting.
Had the
out
suit.
Here with the cape.
Yep.
He looked awesome. This was... The crowd was really, really, really into this even before the match even started. Also, I want to say I liked New Japan's video package that they played.
Yes, yeah.
To display the match. And it was cool that we had translations, which we never really get.
Yeah, they actually had the English subtitles for what the narrator says.
I would love if they started doing that, because I'm not saying they need to do it for the Japanese audience or even for the Japanese, commentated presentation, but they already have an English commentary team and English presentation. When they have those promo videos, they might as well just put up the subtitles for us.
Yeah. Man, this match was crazy. I didn't think they did as crazy neck bumps as they did in the New Japan Cup match. Obviously there were still some spots where they did some crazy kind of neck bumps, but not as many. I love this match, and I can't wait to rewatch it on TV. To see how it came off.
You want my hot take?
Yeah, let's hear your hot take.
This is a 4-star match.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. When we watched it live, the hype of seeing Naito and Ibushi together for the first time in U.S. soil was so exciting and so awesome. And then the crowd was just so into it, and I think that did elevate the match quite a bit. But how long did they wrestle? Like 25 minutes?
20 minutes and 55 seconds.
Okay, so they went 20 minutes. This may have very well been the match of the night. To me, it's not upon rewatch. When I watched it live, I thought it was. And so I challenge anyone who's going to listen to this and think I'm crazy, don't call me crazy until you've rewatched it first. Watch it a second time with new eyes, because that's what I did. And I'll tell you what, I think for 15 minutes, or maybe like 14 minutes, they're kind of just sleepwalking through a match, to be honest with you. It's not that crazy. They're not doing much. They're kind of just having... I wouldn't even call it a regular match. Like, they're not doing a lot. And then, like, the last 7 minutes, it does get pretty crazy, but by their standards, not really. But the crowd is so into it. That's the thing. And then it's over. We get a couple Bombay knee strikes, and then the Kamagoye. The exchanges that they had were excellent. The high spots were excellent. It was a very good match. I mean, 4 stars is nothing to scoff at, but I've seen people be like 4 3/4 and 5 stars, and this isn't even the best Naito Ibushi match of this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch the tape because from the live viewing, I'm 4.75 on this thing.
No, well, you know what? I was too, so I'm not like you.
So look,
I was shocked when I rewatched it.
I'll rewatch it, but from the live experience, I'm 4.75. I thought this match was amazing. I loved when Ibushi, channeled his inner Nakamura, hit the Nakamura pose, hit those double Bomaye knees.
Those were awesome. The Destino spots that Naito set up were really awesome too.
Yeah, the running Destino was a great near fall, and you can tell that some people really don't pay attention to Naito matches because the running Destino never wins a match. So for me, he hit the running Destino, I knew that wasn't the finish. But there was a bunch of people who...
I noticed that exact same thing that you're saying. Like, he hit Gloria, and then after he hit Gloria, he hit the running Destino, and the crowd was in on it. They thought it was over.
Yeah.
And I was like, he never, ever... That is literally his second signature move.
Right. He never wins off the running Destino.
So, you're right. It was funny to see a crowd, react so heavily to that, but it was still... That was one of the best running Destinos I've ever seen him hit, though.
It looked clean. That's why I always love the running Destino better. I think it just looks more natural and just looks so clean.
The OG.
But yeah, the place was going crazy off that near fall. Like we said, hit the Bomayes, he hit the last ride, and then finally connected with the Kamagoye, and we have a new IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the Golden Star Kota Ibushi.
See, what I would say, this match wasn't terrible. I think it had high expectations that were pretty lofty, but here's the thing. They do have a really high level and standard of ring work when it comes to Ibushi and Naito. And I'm just telling you, rewatch this match and then tell me I'm wrong. I really challenge anybody to rewatch it and tell me that this is a match of the year. I rewatched it and I thought it was great. It was really good. Maybe 4 1/4. There's no way it's 4.5 or higher. It's not. There's no way.
Well, I'll have to watch and see, and I'm curious to see what other people are rating this thing. So I guess we'll see.
I think it's doing pretty I think overall, I looked on Grapple and Cage Match. And I think more people have. Here's the funny thing though, and this is pretty funny. The early ratings are really high. If you go on Cage Match, it's 10, 10, 10s, and then you look at the most recent ones and you're seeing 7s and 8s. And people being like, what the hell are people talking about? And I think it's a lot of people who are really excited when they first watched it and rated it right off the bat. And I think and then what I'm seeing, it's just a trend I noticed online. A lot of the most recent people are rating it very differently because I think with fresh eyes and fresh perspective, they're getting a different opinion on the match. I don't think that this is a match that will hold up years from now as being a great match, honestly, at all. I think it's just a really good match.
Gotcha. So, I'm definitely going to have to rewatch this thing. We had a question from our buddy Maserati. He says, why does Ibushi hate his neck and the ability to walk so much? Why can't the man just take a snap mirror or a back rake? As someone with a back injury, I have trouble watching his matches sometimes.
Yeah, 'cause that's not what he likes to do. I don't know.
Yeah, there was one spot.
He's not wrestling Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
There was one spot where he took a drop kick and landed on his neck.
Yeah.
I was like, well, really?
Yeah, he needs to bump better.
Yeah, you don't need to land on your head for every bump, Ibushi.
It's true.
So, yeah, Maserati, I'm not sure why Ibushi hates his neck so much, but yeah.
I did see one. I saw a comment that was really funny about this match. And they're like, Ibushi managed to sleepwalk through the majority of a match and still take unnecessary damage all at the same time. It's kind of true.
So next we have the semi-main event, or I should say the first half of the double main event as it was advertised.
Double main evento.
Now you said that, we did have the Japanese ring announcer, I forget his name, doing the ring announcing during New Japan matches, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, another thing too, with the presentation, we had speculated about what the ring might look like and all that, and they ended up they didn't do exactly what we talked about, but they did end up doing the traditional Japanese ring pads in the red and blue corner, and then in the other two corners they did the
Ring of Honor, just American Ring of Honor.
Yeah, regular turnbuckles.
Yeah.
They did also have the New Japan logo on the second turnbuckle, and then on the first and third they had the Ring of Honor logo.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool presentation. I'm still waiting to go to a New Japan show and actually see a New Japan canvas and the blue guards and feel like I'm at a real New Japan show.
Yeah.
Because I've gone to a bunch of shows that say New Japan now and still haven't seen the ring,
Well, hopefully we'll get that at Dallas. But here we have the Ring of Honor title match, triple threat ladder match. The champion, Jay Lethal, defending against the villain, Marty Scurll, and leader of the kingdom, Matt Taven. Huge reaction from Marty Scurll.
Marty was one of the most over stars of the night.
Yeah, big reaction. I thought this was, a good ladder match.
I thought it was good.
But I think it went too long.
Yeah, it went kind of long, but the thing is, it was still good. They weren't, how do I put it? So, with a heavyweight title at stake, there's always a main event pace to matches in Ring of Honor and in a lot of Western companies.
Yeah.
They kind of still wrestled at that pace, but in a ladder match.
Right.
And so you were kind of expecting, I don't know that I was expecting these guys to kill themselves or put their lives on the line, because, these are big stars and it's a big show. But I did expect more innovation and more excitement. And I felt like they kind of wrestled at a medium pace.
Yeah, I think the problem is here you had 3 guys who are not really known for being in ladder matches, who have been in many ladder matches. So I don't know who helped lay them out, but it was like you said, it was just that awkward thing where you have 3 guys who are not really ladder match guys thrown into a ladder match and
Well, Taven and Lethal and Scurll are not spring chickens. They're not young guys.
Right.
And they're not hungry guys, and that's not a knock on them. What I mean by that is they're established stars. Now, they might not be in WWE, but they are making very good money applying their craft. And they're at a point where, given how the wrestling industry is and given the eyes on them from this show, they're not trying to kill themselves. They're trying to preserve themselves while giving you the best match possible. And so, yeah, this didn't really turn into what I would call a really memorable. I mean, this wasn't Eddie and Rob Van Dam or a TLC match or any of that sort of stuff. This was a pretty good. It was a pretty good match.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
There was one crazy spot in here. They kind of wedged the ladders together in an X.
That was something I'd never seen before.
Yeah, and then eventually Lethal threw it out of the ring and ended up hitting a fan in the face.
I rewatched it. I don't know if that guy got hit in the face or not.
But it came from our angle.
It hit a guy. Yeah. I don't know if it could have hit him in the face. It might not have. He stayed for the whole show and he never got up or left or anything. He seemed fine.
Yeah.
I think it hit him in the chest. The way I was looking at it.
Gotcha. But yeah, the whole crowd was chanting, "That's a lawsuit."
Oh, one thing I did want to say. They had Nick Aldis on commentary for this match. Nick Aldis is incredible.
Dude, he's a great talker.
He's an incredible commentator. He blew Colt Cabana out of the water. In fact, Ian Riccaboni, who I usually like, I didn't like as much on the show because I had to compare him to Kevin Kelly, and it's very apparent he's not Kevin Kelly.
Right.
But Nick Aldis is really... I mean, very rarely... I'm not even a commentary guy, so I usually don't care. But I'm telling you, Nick Aldis was gold on this match. He actually made the match way better than it was.
Yeah, with Aldis being out there, they've been teased... Because Scurll is facing him at the Crockett Cup NWA show, and they've been teasing a champion versus champion match, so...
They talked a lot about that on commentary, and then also... in the build-up to the match, when they played the hype video, there was a point where Marty was like, if not here, then when? And I'd said the same thing on our pre-show. If they're not going to go with Marty now, then they're just not going to go with him.
Right.
And yeah, that was kind of like my thinking here. Like, if you're gonna go with Marty. It's time to do it. You know.
Mm-hmm. But they chose not to go with Marty here. They decided to go with Matt Taven, that's kind of what I predicted. I felt like they wanted to do the big title change here, which was the whole reason why he didn't beat Lethal at the 17th anniversary. Matt Taven is a guy that they've been building for a while. He is, somewhat of a homegrown Ring of Honor guy. He's been in Ring of Honor for a long time. The original Kingdom with him, Adam Cole, and Mike Bennett. And he's been a guy that they've been building. And, for the past 2 years, there's been this whole conspiracy against the Kingdom and Matt Taven, and he keeps getting, screwed out of title shots by management. So I figured this was finally the time that they were gonna try and elevate him into this world title picture, and that's what they chose to do here. Majority of the crowd not into it, but there was a large pocket of the crowd that was into it. I mean, the Honor Club girls were there in New York, and them and all the Kingdom fans were very happy for Matt Taven.
Yeah, they definitely, the Kingdom definitely has fans.
Yeah, I mean,
like we talked to them and met them this week, and I mean, there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, people underestimate the kind of fan base that the Kingdom has. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them, but there is an audience for them. I'm not a big fan on them putting the belt on Taven, but I mean, I guess I kind of understand. Marty's contract is coming up and he's leaving. Lethal has been Ring of Honor champion for a long time. He's already beat the record of consecutive days as champion over multiple reigns. So it's not much you could do with Lethal as the Ring of Honor World Champion right now. So I guess from a booking perspective, what they had laid out, I guess it made sense for Matt Taven to win. That's kind of what I saw. I felt they were leaning too heavy into the whole ROH title versus NWA title match, and that's why I figured Marty wouldn't end up winning. So yeah, so they went with Matt Taven here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's it's a big show, and not every match can have a happy ending, so I can't complain about it too much. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Matt Taven. I don't think he's awful or anything like that, and this isn't necessarily my product to begin with. But I also have to wonder, if they have Marty for any serious length of time, maybe they don't because we don't know. Mm-hmm. But if they do, then I feel like they should have just gone with him. This is the time to do it. But they didn't, and they're not going to, so that's fine. Matt Taven won. It probably was the right time to get the title off Jay at this point. But I just don't really dig the Kingdom. I know that they do have some fans, but that's just what happened.
Yeah.
Matt Taven won. That's what happened. I was hoping this would be Marty's moment, but it wasn't.
Question from Super Retro TBR. He says, if Marty Scurll won, would it have been title versus title at the Crockett Cup?
Yeah, speaking of which, this Super Retro, that's a podcaster that we met at the New Japan fan event. What's up? If you get a chance, check out his podcast. Pretty cool stuff. But, yeah, I mean, hypothetically, if they had booked it that way, that's something they could have booked, but they did not book it. Right.
So there's no 100% way of knowing what they would have done. But, yeah, the potential of doing the Ring of Honor title versus the NWA title, all titles on the line, winner takes all, they could have done that. Next question from The Elite Era. He says, why did Matt Taven win? He said, rather preferred Lethal to retain if Marty didn't win.
I mean, yes, I'm right there with you. I would have rather Lethal retain or Marty win, but yeah, Matt Taven, they see potential in him, and they're going with him,
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, with the Rumble battle, the Honor Rumble.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Kenny King versus Matt Taven.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, you're telling me like it wouldn't have made more sense to do Liger and Matt Taven?
Liger and Matt Taven makes all the sense in the world, because if you're trying to build up Matt Taven, feed him Liger, you know what I'm saying? Like, that makes sense. Taven and Kenny King, so what? Kenny King's going to turn face, or they're going to try to turn Taven face? Like, this doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah, I don't know. But, Roosh has been feuding with the Kingdom, so, maybe eventually it'll be Roosh versus Taven, and Roosh will get the belt off this man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just don't see it with Taven like that. That's my thing.
Same
but,
here.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So now we have the main event of the evening for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. The champion, Switchblade Jay White, defending against the New Japan Cup winner, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. And the crowd was super into this match. Okada's entrance came in. The crowd was super into Okada and just totally despised Jay White and Gato. Several F Gato chants anytime he would get involved.
The crowd was far from split. Like, the crowd was so pro Okada and so vehemently anti Jay White. Like, this was the most clear-cut, distinct, like, babyface heel dynamic that was presented the whole night. Mm-hmm. Like, the fans there hate Jay White. They do. Yeah,
even comments I heard during the meetup and as we were walking into the show, the fans were definitely not in Jay White.
I think we met a lot of people, though, that were telling me they thought Jay White was going to win. And I was like, Chief. I get it. Jay White's great, but he's definitely not winning this. And there's people that like really thought Jay White was like winning it. Like, I had to like explain to people. I was like, well, if you would have listened on last week's show, but I had to explain to people why like I felt like Okada was gonna win this. But you know what, man, this is a match that I saw some pretty negative opinions about also. And I watched it, and I thought it was really good when we watched it live. But then I rewatched it, and I was like, this match is incredible. This is a real, like, Okada Jay White, this is the best match they've ever had together. And I think it's really, really, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, this is another match that I need to rewatch. I was only able to rewatch, like, the first half of this show. So I need to rewatch the second half of this show. And it's another match I need to rewatch. But live, I thought this was a great match. I did think it started off kind of slow, but
it did. But it's an Okada match,
right? It's like the main event style.
It's the House New Japan main event style. So it's like if you're not a fan of this, you're probably not going to be a fan of, New Japan Pro Wrestling's like main event scene, because that's just what they do, especially with Okada at the top. But I thought I rewatched it and I felt like watching it on television. Being able to see all the little things that like White and Okada were doing made it like even better. Mm-hmm. That is one thing I've seen people criticize Jay White about, where they said like if you're like they've said he doesn't have good facials or good storytelling and stuff like that, and I've always been like, you're crazy if you say that, and I've always disagreed. But one thing I will say, if you're in a live audience, some of the stuff he does is very nuanced, and you don't pick up on it.
Right.
But when you watch it on television and you can see it clearly, you're like, oh, he's great. There is some truth now that I've understood, that when you're in a live audience, it's hard to pick up on all that. And he's doing like little dickish things to draw heat, but it's so nuanced that maybe the whole point sometimes is to do it in a way to where everyone can see it and react to it. Right. And so it's like maybe sometimes Jay, maybe he doesn't realize this because he is still young, but it's like he's wrestling for the television or for the hard cam and not so much for the live audience. Yeah. That is one thing I picked up in this match, because watching it live versus watching it on television, it was better watching it on television.
Mm. Yeah, but I mean, the ending part of this match was phenomenal.
The whole like last 10 minutes was so good.
I was on my feet during the end of this match, last 10 minutes. And I was cinched into every moment, every near fall, every maneuver. I mean, it was just epic. So I just recapped the ending here. Jay White counters the Rainmaker into a sleeper suplex. He goes for Blade Runner, but Okada counters that. They trade chops. Drop kick by Okada, hits the Rainmaker. He hits another one that gets only a 2 for a near fall. White then counters the Tombstone into the Blade Runner, which was a big moment here. He can't cover, both are down. You can kind of hear the crowd like almost like, oh my gosh, like gasping when he hit that Blade Runner.
Yeah, it was because we've been conditioned at this point. We talked about it on the show last week. When he hits the Rainmaker, it's 1, 2, 3. The Blade Runner. Nobody has kicked out of the Blade Runner yet, and so he hits it, and it's and you're like, oh my god, it's gonna be over. But he just got hit with 2 Rainmakers, and he literally is so spent and so exhausted that he doesn't know where he's at. He rolls the other way, and he doesn't go for the pinfall.
Right. And
you're like, we were wondering how they were going to protect the Blade Runner in this match, and I'm like, you geniuses, that's how you did it.
So then following that, both of them struggle back up to their feet, exchange strikes slowly. Then Gato distracts the ref, and Jay White hits a low blow on Okada. But Okada ended up countering the Blade Runner into a German suplex. And then after that, he hits a drop kick. Rainmaker's blocked again. White starts laying in strikes, but Okada won't let go and hits the Rainmaker. He hits a second one, the Tombstone, and another Rainmaker for the win. And your new IWGP champion, Kazuchika Okada, beating Jay White 32 minutes and 42 seconds.
Yo, and how good does the new IWGP title look?
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's bigger, it has more gems, it's shinier, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it looks amazing. So the only thing here, we didn't get Okada bucks.
Yeah.
They were saying that the reason they didn't do the confetti and the Okada bucks is because the union would have had to clean it all up. And they had to be out of the building like so quickly after the show was over.
Yeah.
So that's one reason they didn't do it. But other than that, this was an excellent main event. I'm not sure where I'm at on it, but I got to tell you, I'm like between 4.5 and 4 3/4. Like, to me, and it's funny, we left the show and we were talking about ratings, and Rich was like 5 stars. And I was like, there's no way. But I was like pretty out of it at that point. Like, we've been going hard all day. I rewatched it, and I'm like, I don't think he's that far off, to be honest with you. Like, this was an incredible, incredible main event. This was easily, for me, the match of the night. I think it was way better than Naito and Ibushi.
Gotcha. So, being off there a lot, based on being there live, I gave it 4.5. So yeah, I'm definitely interested now to rewatch this and the Ibushi Naito and kind of see if my star ranges change or my opinion change on both of these matches. So we have a bunch of questions here about this main event. First comes from our boy Aaron Nova, wrestler here in the local Florida scene.
What up, Cat?
He says, what is it that Okada does that sells him to casual fans?
So is he saying, like, what does he need to do so he could potentially sell himself to casual fans, or the fact that he automatically is already doing that?
Yeah, what is he doing that sells him to casual fans?
I think part of it is star appeal. Like, he looks like a star. Like, you know what I mean? Like, matinee, like, they say, like, matinee idol, like, good looks, his gear, his presentation, like, everything about it. Like, when he comes out, like, and his music, you just know, like, he's the freaking Rainmaker. Like, he's the top draw.
Yeah, just the presence, the aura. It's like, yeah, like, this guy, like you said, this guy's a star. He's a top guy. Yeah, I mean, you tune into any program and you see the top guy in the company, like, you get drawn to him.
I think the other thing, too, is the emotions of his match. You know, he's so technically good. Anyone who is a casual fan who sees him for the first time is going to be blown away and marvel at, like, his athleticism and not only that, but, like, his great ring psychology. It's really, and then the emotion of it all. It's really hard to watch an Okada match and not be drawn in visually and emotionally.
Yeah. So next question we have from Simon Cotton, who contributes here on Social Suplex. He says,
and is a writer for Sportskeeda.
Yeah, and he was also on LOP this week with James reviewing Raw and SmackDown. He asks, who should beat Okada for the IWGP title?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not entirely sure that I know who's going to beat him for the title. I think Ibushi and Naito are like my top two candidates, though.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Naito here. I really think we're going to get that Naito-Okada match at Wrestle Kingdom still, and Naito will finally beat Okada at Wrestle Kingdom and get the belt.
I do have questions about whether or not Okada's going to retain the title for the next, 8 months? That's a pretty lengthy reign.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll go with him again for that long of a period of time. It is possible, but that's kind of why I'm like, I don't know. I could hypothetically see Ibushi winning the belt. You know who else is a possibility?
Who?
Zach.
Yeah.
They've really made Zach look strong. That's a possibility. Yeah. A real possibility.
Yeah. Next question from Dylan James. He says, what can they do with Jay White to elevate him properly for the main event scene rather than keep doing what they've done with him?
Well, I don't know that I agree with the question because I feel like everything they've done has elevated him to the main event scene, and he's at the main event level scene now.
I don't agree with the question either, Dylan. I mean, they've had this guy beat Okada multiple times, beat Tanahashi, have a good run in the G1. He beat Kenny Omega. He's been the U.S. champ. He just was the IWGP champion. He's been elevated to the main event spot.
I guess what I don't agree with the question, respectfully, is that the way that it's worded is supposing that the things they've done have been missteps or mistakes. But, they've been doing business with the guy at the top, and he just main evented Madison Square Garden against Kazuchika Okada. I can't say that anything that they've done up to this point with this guy has been a mistake. You know what I mean? I think the one knock that people have on him is the level of his match quality, which is more of a personal thing. And if you're not a fan, you're not a fan. But here's the deal. People hate him. They're supposed to hate him. He's a heel. Right. You know what I mean? That means he's doing his job really well, and he's doing it in a way to where people want to pay to see him get beat. They're not doing it in a way where people want Jay White to go away.
Yeah, it's not go away heat.
It's not go away heat. It is, oh my God, I freaking hate Jay White. I hope Okada kills him.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job with him, and he just put another notch on his resume. It's slowly starting to build up this little snowball effect where people talk crap about Jay White or whatever, right? That's fine. But if the guy keeps putting on match after match after match that's excellent, eventually you're gonna have to turn around and be like, I don't like him, but he's pretty good. And that's where he's at right now. So yeah, I think he's at the main event level. I think the only thing that could be done is to move him to the next level, because he's already one of the top guys. But to move him beyond that to make him a megastar. And I mean, I think that they need to keep doing what they've been doing, and he will get there. Right. Because I think what they've been doing has been excellent thus far.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, they just need to keep having him, in main events against top guys in New Japan and winning. And I think he's going to have a great G1 climax this year.
I do too. I think he's going to have a really good G1 climax. Yeah. He could win the G1.
He could.
He could. You know what? He could win the title back from Okada too.
Yeah.
That's not really outside of the realm.
Yeah. Next question from Reddit user, why did you do that, bro? He says, Okada has literally defended the belt against every top contender there is. The only other fresh contenders are in Chaos or holding another belt, Juice/Coda. My question is, do you think people will get bored of Okada's reign faster than last time if they're seeing a carbon copy of defenses from the last reign?
Very possible. I think that's a real concern, a real possibility. That's why I mentioned that I don't know if he's going to hold it for 8 straight months again. He could, because they don't have a ton of title defenses in New Japan. Luckily, they have done a great job in New Japan developing these systems that generate, de facto title contenders throughout the year that people care about. But no, I think he has a great point. I think that's total possibility.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him face a lot of the guys that are currently in New Japan. So yeah, I can definitely see people getting disinterested in this upcoming Okada title reign.
I think it's worth noting though that he didn't face anybody in the New Japan Cup that he beat that would be an immediate title contender, except for Sonata, who we'll talk about that later. But if you notice, I think there's a very measured reason that they didn't have him going up against any level of star. You know what I'm saying? They put him up against Mikey Nichols, and who else do you face?
I faced Ospreay, who's still in the junior.
Ospreay's the one guy, but Ospreay's still technically a junior and in the Never division. So I don't.
Mike Elgin, who's leaving.
And Elgin, who's leaving. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So it's there's a reason that they had him there and not up against Gotos or Suzuki's or Zack Sabres or what have you.
Yeah. Question from Twitter follower @J2311. Who are the top 3 contenders to challenge Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight title?
Well, I think that the names that we've listed so far are kind of the obvious answers. Naito, Ibushi, Jay White, Zack Sabre. Those are the 4 top names that spring out to me. You could throw Suzuki in there.
Yeah, those would probably be the next coming up ones. And Evil, if Sonata's getting a shot, I wouldn't be surprised to see Evil getting another shot.
Oh God.
So yeah. Next question from Reddit user Huff Jink. He said,
we haven't heard from Huff Jank in a while.
Yeah, he says, what do you think about the possibility of Okada versus Naito at Dominion this year?
I think that could really happen, actually. I think that could happen before Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
I would love it.
And then you could have Naito win the belt there.
The only thing with that, if you do that, that would be fine. That'd be great. But a lot of the LIJ fans who have been standing for him so hard, they want him to win in the Dome because they want him to be the guy. So I don't know. But that's what they did with Kenny.
Yeah. I mean, they could have Naito win the belt. You have J1 win the G1 climax, and then they've been protecting. Protecting that Naito J1.
That's a match we've been talking about them protecting for a while.
Yeah, so
you might be onto something, Jeremy.
So they could do Naito Jay White one night of the Wrestle Kingdom.
Naito better beat Jay White.
Dude, can you imagine the reaction
if
from
Jay White beat Naito in the Dome?
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro, that would be like an Armageddon. People would lose their minds, bro. Yeah, that's a pretty compelling thing that you just laid out. That might happen.
Question from Mags on Twitter. He says, who came out of the G1 Supercard looking the best, and similarly, who came out with their stock dropped?
New Japan came out looking the best, and Ring of Honor came out with their stock dropped.
Yeah.
Who are they talking about? They're talking about just like a wrestler?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm trying to think who came out looking the best.
I would say Okada.
I think Okada came out looking the best, but in terms if I was going to do this based off of who got improved,
yeah,
in the minds and eyes of fans, I think there's a good case for Roosh. You know what I mean? He didn't really even have a match, but just from a booking perspective and star potential, he looked really good.
I think Cobb is another guy that could.
Cobb looked so good. Yeah, Cobb looked great. I'm trying to think who looked bad. Who?
I mean, Kelly Klein.
Yep. Part of me kind of wants to say Juice.
Yeah.
That kind of sucked.
Yeah. Outside of that, that would probably be the main ones, right?
I kind of feel like Marty a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like Marty a little bit because the truth is, like, they can't really hurt him, and, like, he probably needs to go to AEW at this point. But for whatever reason, he's, like, at this level of star where people are not pulling the trigger on him, and I don't know why, because he's clearly the biggest star they have in that entire company. And, yeah, it does kind of hurt him, like, because he's going from this, and he's going to turn around being Best Super Juniors again, and I didn't expect that this year.
Yeah.
So I think there's a case to be made for that.
Yeah. Next question comes from Rambone Slam Pig. He said, "What are your?"
Before we move on, I think Jay White kind of got elevated a bit in that match too.
Yeah.
I would say like he looked really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would say with the Western audience, I think Ibushi.
Yeah.
They were really into that match, and
they were really. I mean, yeah, they were really into Ibushi Naito.
So Rambone Slam Pig, he says, "What are your thoughts on the state of the ROH/NJPW partnership after the show on Saturday? Do their styles fundamentally clash? After seeing tons of independent talent over the weekend, who would be a good fit for NJPW, either for a tournament run or to roster?"
Yeah, so the whole thing with New Japan and Ring of Honor is so precarious because, New Japan wouldn't be where they are in the States without the exposure and partnership that they had with Ring of Honor. But there was a time and a period where it was a more of an even partnership, and now things are very, very, very lopsided. Ring of Honor had to scramble to sign a bunch of new talent just this year so that they could have presentable talent on the card, which was very highlighted. Like, look at the guys that they signed that were in the main event or like on the main card: Mark Haskins, PCO,
Bandito,
Jeff Cobb,
Brody King. These were all guys that were not with the company just a few months ago. And the guys that were with the company, long-term guys, they were all in that battle royal, and people didn't know who they were. Yeah.
So it's definitely, they're in a rebuilding state, but things are just very weird. I do think Ring of Honor came off looking bad. I
think Ring of Honor is going through, like you said, rebuilding, and they're shifting, but it seems like they're kind of shifting because I feel like when the Ring of Honor New Japan partnership first started, they both had similar philosophies, kind of similar mindsets, similar matches. The Ring of Honor had a great in-ring product, and I feel like their Ring of Honor is starting to lean more towards the sports entertainment presentation, which doesn't really fit with New Japan.
Yeah, that's part of it. I just feel like they came off as like Little League.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is unfortunate. Now, that's not to bury the show. The show was still really enjoyable, and it wasn't like terrible. But all the low points of the show were firmly with Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
All the high points of the show were firmly with New Japan. There was a clear distinction between the two. Even if by Ring of Honor standards they did decent, when you compare it to New Japan, and it's not just us being New Japan fans, but this is just the fact of the matter. You put them side by side with the best wrestling company in the world, they look like minor league. They came off looking worse to me than many of the independent shows that I went to and independent like companies that we follow. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. So that was unfortunate. Now, as far as like the state of the, partnership, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like super business acumen type guy. It does feel like with the way Japanese culture is and honor and that sort of thing that they're probably not going to break this this partnership anytime soon. And even if they needed to alter it in some way, like scale back the level of the partnership, they're probably going to still be doing business together on some level.
Yeah. So the second part of his question was, there any independent talent over the weekend who would be a good fit for NJPW either for a tournament run or to join the roster?
David Starr. David Starr really stands out to me, which is funny because he's a guy in the past that I've always felt like didn't stand out to me. But man, he's great. And I yeah, he's really, 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 really great. I think Swerve obviously is one of those guys, but we think he's probably signed to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who can you think of?
I mean, from people I saw over the weekend, I didn't really see many like straight up independent people. A lot of people were already with other promotions, but I mean, I went to that Stardom show, and I'm like, if Ring of Honor has access to these Stardom girls, like I would make my Women Honor division pretty much Stardom. Like I would have those rivalries carry over. I would use those top stars, and I would have standout matches on my TV and pay-per-view with these Stardom women. So that's what I would do.
Yep.
Next question from Reddit user MPM986. Is the time coming for New Japan to cut bait with ROH?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what their goals are, like, as far as moving into the States, and, you know, I really don't know.
Yeah. I mean, based off of these booking decisions on this show, they might want to consider it, especially how fans are coming off of Ring of Honor.
I mean, let's talk about what the alternative is. There's only one real viable alternative that people are hoping for, and that would make business sense on any level, and that's All Elite Wrestling, which, by the way, there's breaking news that TNT is going to be they're with TNT. They're going to be announcing the TV deal like within a few days or something like that. So there's that.
Yeah.
That's a national product, and you know that might be something that's more appropriate but at the same time, it's like they are kind of competing with one another. Other than that, it's like there really is no good reason to leave Ring of Honor unless you're trying to sign with, do a partnership with All Elite.
Right.
And All Elite has been open to them working all of them together. Ring of Honor is not, but it feels kind of stupid because it's like, well, Ring of Honor doesn't want to, work with them, but they don't want to put forth their best foot, put their best foot forward either, So it's, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Next question from Twitter follower at IHateYanks27. He says, why the fact does ROH have ass clowns booking for them?
I don't know. What do you think?
We know Delirious is the main booker, and it's not the first time that Delirious's booking decisions have been questioned. He's been with the company for a long time. At first as a performer, he's been booking for a long time. Clearly, they are happy with him as the booker, so that's why they have him there.
I will say this, though, in all fairness, I did hear that they did not want Enzo and Cass, the booking committee, that was a Sinclair decision.
So yes, maybe all the blame is not to go on Delirious.
Well, no, a lot of the blame needs to go on him most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. Next question comes from Reddit user KillerMime88. He said, with Dallas still hurting attendance-wise, do you think the MSG show hurts or helps with the G1's perception in America? I know we got a while, but do you think NJPW hits the 10K mark in Dallas?
I think it probably helps. It was still a really good show, and it was, pretty much critically acclaimed. I don't think it was like... It's weird because I think at the end of the year, you got to consider the show. We just watched like a match or a show of the year contender, but it also wasn't something that necessarily like blew people's minds. But I guess my whole thing is this: I think anyone who watched it would have enjoyed it. And I feel like there's a lot more people that were willing to watch this show because of the historic nature of it than maybe they're willing to watch the New Japan Cup Finals.
Right.
And so it's probably going to do nothing but help their perception, help their attendance, and people that are interested in attending the G1 the G1 in Dallas. So yeah, I think it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, I think this is a show that definitely helped kind of build back confidence in Western New Japan fans, and I think they should be excited to see a full-on New Japan show here in the States. Next question from Reddit user Asahi Yojimbo. He said, I think there's an elephant in the room, don't you? Was G1 Supercard an overall successful show from a New Japan standpoint? Is all surrounding controversies solidifying New Japan's fan base as a superior company of the two involved? And do you think New Japan needs to perhaps branch out from their partnership with ROH?
That's a lot. I'm just trying to kind of answer that question. I mean, what do you think?
So first, the first part of his question, was it an overall success from a New Japan standpoint? I definitely think so. Everything that New Japan had on the card delivered and was great. And if you were a New Japan fan, I think you would be happy with the presentation that you got from them.
I think also because we're talking about how there was a distinction between the two. Clearly, one of the companies came off looking better than the other. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to be a failure when your company looks like it's doing nothing but succeeding in comparison to their partner.
Yeah. And we already touched out on whether they should branch out or not.
I mean, I think it makes sense. Ultimately, I think most New Japan fans are, or even just independent wrestling fans, are like, dude, Ring of Honor's not hot right now. I can't tell you how many people I talked to that were like, I think I'm going to give Ring of Honor a rest.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anyone who watched the show and think I'm going to give New Japan a rest.
Right.
And with the excitement of All Elite, it's funny. There's so many people who are like, I can't wait for those All Elite guys to leave New Japan. And then now there's lots of people being like, maybe they should
work with them.
Maybe they should work with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately it does make business sense. I just don't know if that's what I don't know how New Japan officials perceived this weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what Harold May and company thought about the whole show and what they need to do moving forward.
My dog Michael Craven.
Next question comes from where am I? Here we go. Oh, at Matt223 from Twitter, and we pretty much touched this. He says, do you think the success of this show positively affect ticket sales for the G1 in Dallas? And I think it will. And all this weekend they were promoting. They had a special discount code that you can use if you attended New Japan stuff to get G1 tickets. And something too that we need to touch on with these Dallas tickets that hasn't really been talked about. So a lot of the numbers that are being reported are the Ticketmaster numbers, but nobody has touched on the New Japan fan club numbers. There are about 2,500 tickets from the New Japan fan club. I mean, they have first access to all shows, whether they're in Japan or in the States. This is the first day of the G1 Climax. There are people that go to all days or go to majority of the tournament, and a lot of Japanese fans will be coming over for the G1 Climax from the New Japan fan club. So there are more tickets sold than what we think there are.
Yeah, I mean, that would indicate, hypothetically, if those are all sold, which we were told that they were. Now, I'm kind of saying I'll have to see it before I believe it, but they came from a reliable source that they pretty much have sold out the whole block of New Japan Fan Club tickets, which means they're looking at already
5,000. Well,
5,000 tickets.
Yeah, the last Meltzer number was about 2,500. So with the 2,500 from the New Japan Fan Club, then we're looking about 5,000.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't necessarily a positive. Well, I mean, obviously, selling more tickets is a positive thing, of course. Mm-hmm. But it's not like a $5,000 number. 5,000 number in that type of arena is necessarily a success, but that is something to keep in consideration, basically.
Yeah.
If it is true, and it might not be, we'll see.
We have another question here from Amy. She said Harold May made appearances all over New York during Mania Weekend. Do you think he was able to get a good impression of how the U.S. audience feels about NJPW coming to the U.S.? What kind of impact do you anticipate the G1 Supercard to have on G1 Dallas ticket sales? I
really don't know. Harold just kind of seems like a smiling, dude that just kind of bumbles around, and he was like, "Here, have some stickers." I have no clue if he interfaced with New Japan fans or got a good idea. We talk about fan bases being in bubbles and things like that, and I mean, I don't know how many people he really interacted with that could give him an opinion one way or the other on any of this stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure what he thought about the whole presentation and stuff like that. So it'll be curious to see what happens in the next few months, especially.
I mean, we're talking to people that were telling us some of the details about what his actual responsibilities and duties are, and they might not be as extensive as we kind of thought they were. That they do have other people on their team that kind of handle more of the creative direction of the company, so to say, as opposed to Harold. So that's one thing to keep in mind too.
Yeah. All right, so now we're just going to cover some few news items real quickly. So the cards for the upcoming Wrestling Dontaku Tour, which starts this weekend, were released. This tour consists of Wrestling Dontaku, Wrestling Hinokuni, as well as Sengoku Lord. Tanahashi and Hiroshi Tenzan will both be missing this tour due to injury. Tanahashi is suffering a left elbow injury, which was believed to be suffered during the match with Sabre, while Tenzan is dealing with a knee issue. There's no timetable set for either of those guys' return.
I thought Sabre worked that safe style.
Guess not.
That's unfortunate for Tanahashi because that's his other arm.
Yeah.
That's the other one. Tenzan, we don't know what the story is, but they were saying Tenzan was rushed to the ER. It was serious.
Yeah. So not sure how that happened or what happened there, but yeah. So wishing those guys a speedy recovery. So Sengoku Lord is happening on April 20th, which is the first of the major shows on this tour, and it's going to feature Kota Ibushi defending the Intercontinental Championship against Zack Sabre Jr., and it's also going to feature Juice Robinson defending the IWGP US title against Bad Luck Fale. Any thoughts on those two matchups?
What were they again?
Ibushi defending against Sabre and Juice defending against Fale.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking poor Juice. I could see him lifting the belt off Juice at this point too, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I think Zack and Ibushi is an interesting match because, well, it makes sense because Zack beat him during the New Japan Cup, right?
Yes.
I always love when those guys lock it up, so I'm very excited for that match.
Yeah, it should be a banger. Then we got Wrestling Hinokuni happening on April 29th, and this will feature a IWGP Tag Title match as God will face off against Makabe and Yano. And Yano stole the belts. So
is that the main event?
Yeah. I'll have to see. That's the big match for Hinokuni. Actually, I think the main event that night is I think the Jay White Goto match is on Dontaku actually. But yeah, I mean the big featured match on Wrestling Hinokuni is God against Makabe and Yano.
Okay, well that's happening.
Yeah, should be. I mean, not expecting anything.
I don't think it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
And then the tour concludes with the two Wrestling Dontaku events on May 3rd and May 4th. On night one, we will see Jeff Cobb defend the Never Openweight Championship against Taichi. Also, Dragon Lee will defend the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title against Taiji Ishimori.
Oh, Goto versus White is the main event of Hinokuni.
Gotcha, okay.
So that will be happening. And then you said at Dontaku we have Jeff Cobb defending against Taichi.
Mm-hmm. And Dragon Lee defending against Taiji.
Those should both be pretty good, actually. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Dragon Lee Taichi match. I think it will have more time, and it's one-on-one. I think it's going to be a really great. And then night two is headlined with Okada defending the IWGP title against Sonata. And the semi-main of that night is Tomohiro Ishii versus Evil.
So, I don't know how to feel about Sonata against Okada. I actually like that they're going to give Sonata another title shot, but it is similar to what one of our listeners had mentioned before, that we just saw this a year ago.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people had kind of hoped Sonata would win the New Japan Cup, and obviously that was not a possibility given the fact that the winner was going to headline MSG. They did give the winner, or the runner-up of the New Japan Cup, the Don Taku main event last year, but that kind of made a little bit more sense because it was Tanahashi and because the built-in storyline of trying to stop Okada from defeating his defense record. Here, they haven't really given us a good reason as to why Sonata is getting the title shot.
Right.
I guess my problem with it, why it's confusing, is that these guys met in the finals.
And Okada beat him clean as a sheet.
Very clean. And then he went on and won the title. So that wouldn't indicate to me that Sonata's deserving. It wasn't like... It was a great match, but it wasn't like Sonata pushed him to his limits, and if one thing had gone differently, he was going to win the belt. I feel like what they should have done is they should have either set up a challenge at MSG immediately after MSG with some sort of promo or post-show conference, or they should have waited to announce this particular match until they shot something during the tour, because right now and they probably will set something up, but right now there's no good reason why Sonata's getting this.
Right, and there are a bunch of Road 2 shows that start this Saturday, and there's a bunch of Chaos versus LIJ matches. So, you could have Sonata maybe pin Okada in one of those multi-man matches. You have Sonata be the one that gets the pinfalls in all the multi-man matches, and have LIJ go over Chaos. So like you said, they could build it up that way, but they should probably did that and then later on say, well, since Sonata pinned Okada in his multi-man match, or since Sonata's been racking up wins against Chaos, we're going to give Sonata the title shot here.
Yeah.
And then also on one of the Road 2 shows on April 22nd, the never openweight 6-man tag team titles will be on the line. Makabe, Yano, and Taguchi will be defending against Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Hikuleo. Also on that same show, we will have Shingo and Bushi challenging Sho and Yo for the junior tag team titles. Well, actually, that one's on April 26th.
So we got a lot of matches coming up.
Yeah, a lot of Road 2 shows, a lot of big shows. We have a question here from Reddit user Eater of Bread. Do you see any of the title changing hands during the Dontaku tour, and what do you think of some of the big matches at Dominion might be?
Well, I'm not really sure yet. I would have to wait to give my final predictions on some of that, because in all honesty, this is the first time I'm hearing about a lot of these matchups.
Yeah, I mean, if just off the cuff right now, based on all the title matches that are set up, if one belt was going to change hands, it would probably more than likely be the Never 6-man tag titles.
I feel like the U.S. title could change hands.
Yeah. But, as we get closer to those shows, we'll be doing previews and predictions for all that stuff. And, yeah, Dominion, I'm not 100% sure about what we could see at Dominion yet. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, Okada Naito could be a possibility. But besides that, I have maybe Hiromu Dragon Lee possibly. But besides that, I'm not sure what we could see at Dominion. Then we got to talk about the potential best of the Super Juniors lineup. So New Japan hasn't officially announced the lineup yet, but there was a graphic that was that came out today advertising tickets, and it had a lot of the talents that we can assume be featured in the Best of the Super Junior tournament. So on this graphic, we have Desperado, Kanemaru, Tiger Mask, Taguchi, Flip Gordon, Bandito, Marty Scurll, Jonathan Gresham, Bushi, Shingo, Will Ospreay, Robbie Eagles, Taiji Ishimori, Sho, Yo, Rocky Romero, Dragon Lee, and there's another mask guy. It's
Teton.
Teton? Okay. Yeah, and Teton. So, yeah. So that looks to be like the current lineup, and there's, on this flyer, there's 19 guys, so which would mean that we're getting 2 blocks of 10, which means one more guy would need to be in this. El Phantasmo is going to be making his debut on this Dontaku tour. There's a match where Ishimori against Ospreay and Dragon Lee, and there's a mystery partner. So
maybe we can get 4 blocks of 5.
They could do that.
I would be down for that.
So yeah, we'll be seeing what happens here. But so yeah, what are you thinking about this potential lineup?
The lineup sounds amazing. The number of participants sounds excessive. I know last year was a struggle to cover the entire tournament, and I'm like, oh god, they're adding 4 more people. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, I love everybody that's in it, and I think we should get some great quality matches like we always do from this tournament. And then
if the report is true, then you've got like 2 very strong representatives from CMLL, but then you've got about 4 representatives from Ring of Honor, so 6 foreign guys plus some of the guys they don't bring in as often, like Robbie Eagles. I mean, it sounds like an awesome tournament lineup.
Yeah. And speaking of tournament lineups, the blocks have been released for the Crockett Cup. So on the A block, we have the Briscoes will face off against the Rock and Roll Express. And then on the bottom half, we'll have Kojima and Nagata teaming up to face Villain Enterprises, PCO, and Brody King. And then on the B block, we're going to have Flip Gordon and Bandito taking on Stuka and Maya Jr. from CMLL. And on the bottom of the B block, we'll have Jax and Crimson, which is an NWA team. And they'll be facing a wild card team.
That sounds awful. Bro, that's a terrible, terrible Crockett Cup lineup. Like, the Crockett Cup, oh my god. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 8 teams?
Yeah.
Dude, that's bad.
And so we had a question here from Muzza. He says, hope you guys have recovered from Mania Weekend. He says, your thoughts on the NWA Crockett Cup and who's in it?
Well, I will say to you that, like, my whole thinking when I heard that they were going to be doing this was that, like, it was going to be this excellent, like, array of tag team talent, Or, like, not even just that, but, like, guys from the indies who could be thrown together and, make up a team, because that's kind of what they did in the original. The original 86 Crockett Cup had a total of 25 teams.
Wow.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to count. But, like, yeah, I mean, look at how many people are here. Like, they had people from All Japan, Jim Crockett Promotions, from CSW, from all over the place, Mexico, UWF. Like, this is crazy. Oh, the Rock and Roll Express were in the original. But, I mean, yeah, they had the Sheep Herders, they had Rock and Roll Express, the Russians, Road Warrior Express, Midnight Express, the Guerreros, the Fantastics, the Fabulous Ones, and the Baba and Tiger Mask, the Four Horsemen. So I'm listing to you some of the all-time greatest like tag teams of all time. Like, who's in this one?
So it's a Rock and Roll Express.
Okay.
The Briscoe brothers.
Oh god. Yeah, well, yeah, and Flippin' Bandito. It's like, okay, that's cool. Stuka and Maya. They are literally throwing like a couple guys together. Like, they don't have anything.
Then you got Villain Enterprises.
But the thing is, they should be able to, like, okay, I understand. I kind of get this. Like, it's the NWA. It's a small show. You probably don't have a ton of money to do whatever. Don't do the Crockett Cup if you can't do the Crockett Cup. This is clearly not the Crockett Cup.
Yeah,
this is like them doing Pancakes and Piledrivers. Pancakes.
Yeah. There are enough established teams in all 4 promotions that are involved in this that they could have used.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. They got Villain Enterprises, they got the Briscoes, Rock and Roll Express, Jackson Crimson, but I feel like there are other teams in all those promotions in CMLL that they could have busted out on this thing.
Yeah, this doesn't look good to me.
All right, well, that's going to wrap things up with this week. Thank you guys for all the love that we experienced in New York. Thank you for sticking with us, supporting this show, downloading and listening and getting it over. Next week we'll be back with reviews of what's happened on the road to Wrestling Dontaku and all the updates on the Dontaku tour. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. I'm at Jeremy L. Donovan. Follow us also at Social Suplex on Facebook or facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesdays, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling. Grown men watch this shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryant. Now on Thursdays, we'll have NXT Then, Now, and Forever, hosted by James Boyd. On Saturdays, we have All Things Elite. And next week, we should be back on regular schedule on Tuesday for Keeping It Strong Style. So don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.